Oh my god, ladies and gentlemen, hello. You were very welcome. I was going to say the Duelist Event Network, but
That's
that's taking us
yeah,
back just a little bit. Oh dear, that's
just a
goes to
couple
show.
years.
That goes to show how awake I am. Oh dear. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. What do you mean we both look comically Irish, Chili?
I mean,
Fuck you.
obviously, yeah, I'm a very Irish individual. Yeah, it's
I
very very
did
Irish of
initially
me.
think you were from Boston, to be fair, LB. But LB, how are you keeping? Are you excited to totally not be late on my account and crack on with this excellent tourney that we're about to witness? How are you prepared?
I'm very very excited. I think some of the changes to the rules are really cool. I like the ban on the backhand blade. I think it's going to allow us to see some of the other setups with that weapon type. So you're going to be able to see some of the other backhand blades in there. You're going to get to see how that weapon interacts with some of the top tier weapons. I do believe it is formally making its place into a top tier weapon. Really
Yeah.
excited to see how people are going to be utilizing that as well as some of the other things. But yeah, it's fun. It's cool. I'm excited. Should be a lot of good plays today.
Yeah, should be good. And just as a reminder, it is going to be a round robin tourney, so all the players do get to fight all the players. So we have hopefully a lot of different matches, an awful lot of different bits and pieces that we can see. So I'm going to be super stoked, and it does seem, LB, fingers crossed that nothing bricks.
Well,
Yo, it kind of half bricked. Okay, that's fair enough.
yeah. Well, I mean, I find that having health is a bit of like too much of an advantage. So I'm kind of with Osiris here. It definitely not break at all.
There we
There
go.
it
Yo,
goes.
we fixed it. Yo, we're so pro.
On the fly.
Alright, well, we do have both of our contestants in. It is going to be Osiris in blue and Heaven in red. We'll take a look and we'll see what the equipment that they're using. I love that Chal didn't whip his staff into shape enough to be able to get the fighting game cam up and running. But it does seem as though we are going to see the physics here from both of our players. Heaven is going to be on the Great Cat, obviously a famous play, and it does seem it's going to be the Great Cat versus the regular cat.
Does
Which one
appear
is
that way.
better there, LB? That's the real question here. Which one is, would you say,
I
the better one?
think if you're looking at a pure two-handed setup, I think Great Katana just kind of takes it comfortably, right? You have comfortable poise break. You have really, really good pseudo combos and pretty hard things to roll that you can kind of create some 50-50s in. Interesting rolls here by Heaven. I don't know if maybe they think that there's a connection issue or something's going on, but looks like they are going to finally reset in this neutral. The running R1 coming out from Osiris, traded out by Heaven there. None actually attacking as they just kind of keep dancing around in this neutral. Heaven really playing the wall here heavily. That is one of the issues with Great Katana. It can be hard to get in, but there he finds it in, goes for the roll catch there, actually backsteps and goes for the running attack instead of going for that backswing, or back poke rather, if you will, and he goes for that running attack. Great spacing. Actually, it's a moon valve from Osiris. Okay, so I actually do kind of like this build. I'm a pretty big fan of it. I don't think it's something that is high up on a tier list, but again, you're going against something that is also not high up on a tier list, so it should be interesting enough. Good roll catch there, but the pressure coming out from Heaven to counteract that as a running attack coming through there. Osiris kind of forced to back up a little bit, trying to find his way in as the jumping R1 comes out. The swap to the heavy thrusting sword into the flaming strike. The anti-air not going to come through. Great punish from Osiris. Great read, knowing that he was me. Following up with that Ash of War. Good Ash of War from the Moonveil here, just trying to find some pace in the running attack. Not going to land from Heaven as the jump comes out from Osiris, but the R1 coming there as well. Pretty even on health, trying to find these running pokes, and that's where you run into the issue with Great Katana is you're using a fully reactable weapon. Great jump attack, though.
And a really nice swap there onto the Sword of Night there, and just to give that extra little bit, we see that swap trying to stance cancel. Speak of the devil, it comes out there to try and get that nice little bit of a punish there, LB. Sword of Night, of course, is not only is it a really cool weapon, but it's also the stir of YouTube drama, but not as much drama as we're going to have as we see how this one is going to pan out. But an interesting first round there. I'm just going to communicate with the players real quick and check that check the connections and everything are okay. But LB, the Great Katana is one of those setups that seems to be doing quite well. It's been I fought Nicola just a little bit on it, and it's super spooky the amount of damage that thing can output, along with as with most things in the DLC, they seem to have an awful lot of, we'll say, stance attacks or whatever. They seem to have an awful lot of frame traps. They're able to catch people. It's honestly, it's the same with the Great Katana. It's kind of a very very weird one.
The
How
Great
do you feel
Katana
about
has Yeah, it has a really cool. I was using it quite a lot just to kind of get a feel for the weapon. It has a really cool, almost like a 50-50 of the setup. That after you hit somebody, it's kind of reminiscent of the old Uggs poke of when I hit you, am I going to chain that attack together or am I going to try to roll catch your buffered roll? And it has that with that poke backswing comes out incredibly fast. That you can kind of use that to either go into an Ash of War to follow it up with an attempt on a roll catch. Things along those lines is Osiris Rune Art.
Runark. Let me just tag this chap here real quick. Yo!
And there it is. They figured it out.
He's so pro. All right, listen, we got this. All right. Everyone has their first tourneys. I know it's happened to me in bracket. I'd like to thank, and now that I think about it, I'd like to thank Yoss for being a gamer. All right, and letting me Runark. LB, are you at the ready?
I am all set.
Poggers. All right, there we go. The bolt will be out in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be Osiris in blue and Heaven in red, and the bolt is out. The physics are drunk, and our players are chilling like villains here in a long neutral. The Grey Cat is going to be interrupted. The offshear comes out to try and get that nice little bit of pressure force back. Osiris now chilling here in this very long neutral, but Heaven is going to be skedaddling about the place. That Rakshasha doing some really nice damage. Of course, it does have hyper armor, unlike the other cats, but it does sacrifice that in the form of... Oh, but it's able to get that... Frame 1 hyper armor interrupted on Loretta's, unless that's changed, unless I'm mistaken. Force back now once again. Osiris is going to go for that attempted. Oh no. Oh, he's taken so much damage, LB. It just is not working as the Rakshasha is just able to go to town. And Heavenly One takes another stock in our best of 5.
And that's the big thing with Great Katana, right? Is that Heaven has the read that Osiris is going to try to punish after he finds some damage, and that backswing is going to interrupt that consistently every single time. It comes out incredibly fast. It has really good damage. I believe it actually gets counter on that as well, because I do believe it is a slash pierce weapon, so I do believe those pokes are also getting counterattack. So yeah, it's a very solid setup. It's one of those things. At the end of the day, it's a reactable setup, right? It's not going to be your super top tier setup, but Heaven playing it incredibly well, really leveraging that hyper armor to find those pokes. And it was interesting choice from Osiris, I thought, to actually just use the standard halberd. Especially, it looks like the build allows to use like banished or something along those lines as well. So maybe just a preference thing. But the off shear is also is not a setup that I vibe with heavily. So I actually don't have a lot to take on it. But it's very similar that you're just playing off of your backswings. But if Heaven never rolls away and just keeps poking you, then you don't really get that pressure off of those backswings.
Yeah, and for me personally, it's just like as a matter of, generally speaking, I don't off shear. I think that off shear just it doesn't have the amount of it doesn't have a lot of pressure. It's off axe is just a better version of it flat out. I know both of them do have poise break, but especially even on our not on our 115 actually, because the off shear actually doesn't actually guarantee a poise break. But either way, the bolt is out. The players are drinking the physics. The drank is drunk. The daggers are thrown, and the Rakshasha is just going to town. Right off the bat.
There's that 50-50 we talked about, Enda, is that, Heaven has the opportunity to go with the backswing, instead goes for the roll catch. So really cool. That cool weapon with a lot of dynamics to it. And
it does seem as though Osiris has forgotten to rune arc again. But again, first times in tournaments, ladies and gentlemen, as the Flaming Strike comes out, but it is going to be interrupted. But those R1s here from the Carrions are coming out. Or are those the new Carrions? I can't actually tell. Ooh, no, they look like the regular Carrions. They look like the regular ones, but he is going to be interrupted, and the LGS swap to finish it out, and that is going to be Heaven. And I do see from Osiris here, I don't use Rune Arc. Listen, everyone has their first time. I think this is his first tourney, guys, and that is going to be Heaven taking it in a sweep. Right off the bat. GG's to both. And I should probably actually start the tourney on challenge. I think that would be a good idea. What you reckon, LB?
I mean, it's as long as you're able to keep track of it mentally, what's going on, then you should be fine.
I can't. I quite clearly couldn't get up on time, so I'm not sure if the mental is going to be quite able up to snuff on that one. But it is now going to be Darcy Scout, a relative newcomer to the scene, versus Kieran, also known as Sorceress Oise. From old times, the Slicer Demon from old is coming and actually playing the game.
Very cool.
I
Very
know.
Cool.
I wonder what deranged posts they're going to have on Ladder Core today. That's going to be the real Alright, well, Darcy again, and relative old comer but new to the competitive scene, and Kieran, or is it Kieran? How do you Yanks say Kieran?
So I read that C as like an actual C and not a K, but I could definitely be wrong. I don't know what the word is referencing that I would believe you if you told me I was wrong.
Hang on a second. Where is he? Alright, he has been pinged. We may have to wait. Saul is pretty cool. Saul, bad guy. Why are you talking about Guilty Gear Strive in an Elden Ring tourney, lads? You ever tried fighting games, have you? LB? You never
No, I've never. I was going to try Street Fighter 6 with Fury, but I just never got around to it. I was playing other games when it came out and stuff like that. But yeah, I've never really been a fighting game person. Anytime I've ever played like Smash Bros or something, I've always just mashed the attack button and hoped for the best. And yeah, I've never really put a lot of thought into combos or all of that stuff, reads, all that good jazz.
Imagine actually putting thought into these things.
Not the person to ask about fighting games. I know pretty much nothing about them, and I'm probably terrible.
I mean, I tried. It was
a shot.
It was emotional. There was a try. Wait, hang on a second.
Oh, there it goes. We're back.
Are we back?
We're so back.
We're so back. That's so cool.
Oh, we're gone.
Oh, we're gone.
Are you minusing it
I'm
out?
trying to figure out. It was working for a while that I didn't actually need to do it that way, but it is going to be Kieran in blue and Darcy in red. Cool. We got it fixed. It does seem both of our contestants are Runer. Darcy with a little bit less health.
Start.
Interesting. All right, both of them are in. LBU, are you at the ready?
I am all set.
That is what we call in the business Hella Pogger's bestie. All right, let's get in here as we are going to see the bolt coming down now. Kieran electing for the HTS. What's Darcy rocking? Is she rocking the tried and true Shamshir? Interesting. All right. She's been in the dojo by the looks of things. I know she's been talking to some of the good players over on Ladder Cord, and it would seem as though she swapped off of the TS, is electing to go for the off-shear, but she's taking some serious damage right off the bat. That HTS, have you had the chance to actually mess around with it?
I have. It has a lot of damage, but the big thing that it gets is we just see it right there is Hyper Armor. The Hyper Armor from that weapon. It's when I first picked up the weapon, I did the running R2 and thought this thing's going to be the worst one yet. But with that Hyper Armor that you're picking up from those R2s, with the different types of combos you get from the R2s, it actually has a very interesting setup. But Darcy playing this very, very passive, just kind of, not really passive, that's the wrong choice of words, very, very smart, and just kind of hanging out, waiting for the spacing to come through and punishing. Great running attack to punish there, the anti-air on the Shamshir, the spinning slash to interrupt the Hyper Armor, and a lot of health going away now from the side of Carrion. So Darcy, and a bit of a health deficit here, has found the chance to just kind of focus on the spacing and really try to find the punishes here. Good jumping attacks coming out from Carrion, however, and that's the one thing with HTS that it can be a little bit tricky to get around, are those jumping attacks. Great spacing, though, comes out from Darcy. Phenomenal read, knowing that backswing was coming through, punishing it out, flat out with the Shamshir. So Carrion at a sizable health advantage, but just trying to find any type of chip possible. The Flaming Strike comes out. Decent mix-ups here, just trying to find a different way through as the jump comes out, forcing the roll from the side of Darcy. Darcy does manage to jump that one, trades out with the Flaming Strike, actually spaces it out entirely, and the punish coming through there as well. There's the tear pop now on the side of Carrion. Is Darcy going to pull this one back? As you see the R2 coming out there from the jump. Good bait there from Carrion, trying to force the roll after the jump. The jump coming out, trying to find the R1. Good second jump. Great spacing there, but Darcy's going to find the trade out with the Shamshir. And there is the poke to finally catch it off from the side of Carrion. really, really clean second half there from Darcy. Just didn't quite have the health event available to really clean that one up.
Yeah, she did a really good job there of bringing that one back. Like I could see the shock and horror in her play. She's like, "Bruh, that's a lot of damage." I remember
that's what it does.
It's an AR stick that seems on paper to be kind of garbo, but as you can see here, it's whew. It actually, the first tournament that I rocked for the DLC. It was, of course, Mythos in the finals, and he took that thing out and went to actual town on Mag. It was actually like insane, it's just able to do so much damage. But either way, LBU. We do have both of our contestants in the arena. Kieran on the left, Darcy on the right, and it is Kieran, because Irish names are funny that way, LB. And on a, I guess on a 3, 2, 1, we press the button, we see what happens. Are we going to see this nice comeback from Darcy? Given the state of play in the later part of that round, it would not shock me, as we are going to see the physics here from both players. We're going to see the little runarounds here. Going for that, is it Mesmer Spear that's called? Oh, we're on the funny dagger.
That is the new dagger, but actually opting to just go right back to the Shamshir, which I do really enjoy that dagger. I think it's fun, but the Shamshir, as you're going to see there, it's going to get your anti-air. It's going to get the chains coming through here, the damage coming through now from the side of Kyrian. But Darcy still at a sizable advantage here. The talisman swaps coming through from each player. Good jump coming out to try to anti-air. That great second follow-up there from the side of Kyrian to really try to just find any bit of poke that we can here. Good R1 there from Darcy, but punished out from the side of Kyrian. And there's that R2 hyper armor and the backswing to follow it. Tier not popped yet from the side of Darcy, so still has some health to come back, but again, we're going to be seeing a disadvantage coming through here at the health side, and there is that damage coming through from Kyrian. So again, that weapon, it's one of those things you want to walk into it, you want to just walk in and trade, but you really cannot afford to. We see Claw Talisman, we also see the Thrusting Talisman from the side of Kyrian to really make sure that when he does find those trades, it comes through at a very healthy advantage. But Darcy now on the rundown for the side, Kyrian on the rundown from the side of Darcy with the Shamshir, trying to find any pressure. Great rolls, great discipline comes out from Kyrian here, just trying to get away. Good anti-air there from the side of Darcy, and the pressure coming through, but the Hyper Armor is going to find it, and there is the combo from the charged R2 into the R1 from the side of Kyrian.
Yeah, it's not a good day to be Pooh Piggy with a name like that, you know. Like, it's an unfortunate thing that just happened there. Kieran's doing a really good job to go for that true combo. I've heard disrupting reports. Some people have said, "Oh, it's true. Oh, it's not. It's frame dependent." I'm gonna be honest with you. That thing feels true. All right, that's like...
Yeah. So I think it has to do from my testing personally. It felt like if I just landed an R2 and went for the R1, it wasn't always true. But if I landed a charged R2, the R1 always felt true. So I don't know if there's a stagger dependent based on how long you're holding it, whatever that might be. I am definitely not the person to necessarily ask, because I haven't put a lot of testing into it. But yeah, there is a bit of a combo there. Whether it's true, whether it's sometimes true or not, as we saw there, I'm sure Darcy was pressing the roll button and just got comboed out there. But again, that hyper armor is so strong on that weapon, and it's like I said, it's one of those things that everybody picked it up and thought, oh, this thing's going to be terrible. The only good move that heavy thrusting sword has, this one doesn't have, and then they found the hyper armor, and it makes a really interesting play style. It looks like both of our contestants are ready. We have Kyrian in blue, Darcy on the red.
Yeah, and it looks as though Darcy's making a change here over to the side, LB, and I'm not sure. Side struggled last patch with hyper armor, kind of always felt a little bit like Halberd to me, wherein the actual move itself with those anti-airs tries to set up there for the crouch R1 mix-up game that is, of course, famous, but the anti-air game here on the side of Darcy is going to come in clutch. Obviously here the HTS is a very area-oriented setup, but with the hyper armor here, we're going to have to see what changes we're going to make here from Kieran, as he is going to go for those run jump attacks, trying to keep up a little bit of pressure. Darcy's doing a good job here of holding center, waiting for Kieran to come to her. Everything here is reactable, goes for that crouch R1 to the R1 mix game, which is, of course, the bread and butter of the side. Forced back in now. Kieran is a little bit spooked here, and I can't say I blame him, but we are going to see the attempt at Bolus, and he goes through completely for free. Darcy's air is going to be able to get a punish, and the Roar 1 roll catch forced back now once again. However, Tries to go for some shenanigans there as the side of Kieran, but Darcy just said, nah, I'm going to press in your face, and there is nothing you can do about it as that jump attack comes through. Not goal, but the trade there with the Flaming Strike, that lingering hitbox coming in clutch, as we do see the swap back over onto the Poison Mist here once again. Tries to keep that up. Goes to the rope catch. Kieran's on the ropes here. Is he going to be able to get his way out? That poison bar is probably going to be pretty full right now. So, and with that 115 HP in a dream, he's going to have to play this one super safe, LB, as he's forced back in now. He's trying to find an opportunity to engage. Going for the Econ Spear. Follower Saber is real, for real, as we are going to see that attempt. Goes for that, tries to go for the roll catch, and that's going to be all she wrote. Darcy puts herself on the scoreboard, LB.
I really like the Scythe play here. You know, it has all the things that you really want when you're dealing with a heavy jump attack, right? You have the anti-air, you have a little bit of combos coming through with those crouch attacks as well, that you can kind of build your own little vortexes. So I really do enjoy that, to see some change coming through from Darcy as well, saying, hey, you know what, the Shamshir is not working. Let me just try something that, you know, that I think will work against this. And I like to see the drawing board in action, if you will, from the side of Darcy. So a bit unfortunate a couple times. I think she would have cleaned it up a little bit sooner, but the backstabs came through on the rolls, right? So you never get away from that, unfortunately. But I also really like the idea of swapping to the dagger when they're low health.
Yes.
It's such a hard attack to react. It has a really cool R2 with that as well, that you can get kind of those double hits the same way you could on the Earthsteel dagger. So I really do like that build as well. It's something I've been using a lot. Yeah,
well, we'll just have to see now whether or not the swap here is going to favor Darcy moving forward, LB, because that was an impressive turnaround from the round before. Shamshir just was not making it, as we are going to see the physics here from both of our players. But on the side of Kieran, what's he missing here into the side? What does he need to do here in order to kind of like close this one out and put an end to this set as quickly as he can?
So I think AR for AR, Carrion is pretty comfortable in the lead there. That I think you just need to play for trades a little bit here, right? You're fighting a slow weapon. You have hyper armor. You can use that to your advantage. We've just seen almost maybe a little bit too much pressure trying those neutral jumps. Neutral jumps are great, but unfortunately they only go as far as if it's still a very reactable weapon, that neutral jumping can be punished really easy. Great spacing, though, from the side of Carrion. I have to say that crouch attack coming out from Darcy, the read there, the spacing comes through, but there's the punish there. Goes for a little bit too much, gets a little bit too greedy, and Darcy there to clean it up a little bit. Good running attack that can be very hard to get away from. Great jump to get around that R2. The Flaming Strike coming out to trade. The tier pops now on the side of Darcy, and Carrion finds himself with a little bit of an advantage, and now we're going to see this passive play come through. The jumps coming through to punish. Good R2 pokes there. Finds a backswing there as well, and Darcy falling low, 600 health, a little bit of regen kind of clicking through, but Carrion still has a tier and a 600 health advantage, so we'll see if Darcy can find a way through this one. Again, the jump comes out, finding the poke there. Great delay there, and goes for the Flaming Strike, and does find the trade. Only 3 down to 3 health, though. He thinks it's finished, but Darcy not done yet, but they're unfortunate backstab grab from Carrion. This would be quite the pullback from Darcy here, opting just to stick on Blessed Do here and not swapping over to a red or blue feather, which I think I do agree with that sentiment. But there's the jumping attack. That's going to clean it up, and Carrion finds his way through to a 3-1 victory.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all she wrote. Let's just take a quick peek at the builds here before the players feck off. Looking at it here, we are going to see it's going to be strength into strength. Both sides rocking strength, LB. Kind of a curiosity there. That obviously with the two-handed shenanigans, it is going to come in clutch there for that extra damage. An arcane build here for Scythe would have actually been super nasty. Occult Scythe hits like an absolute truck on top of getting that really good status build up as well. Have an offhand wacky or one of the new wacky daggers. You see what I did there? It was a wacky. I'm sorry. Please clap. But no, it's kind of a curiosity there as to going on that strength build. It did serve her really well in the wind-up, though. That's one of the big ones, I think. And why Scythe? Why did Scythe work there in a way that the Shamshir, which is on paper a much better setup, why? Sure. What happened? What was the interrupt? Why? I'm super curious.
So I think the difference there is the reliable anti-air. So Shamshir does get pretty decent anti-air, but it's something that you can play around, and if you can, I mean, it can be kind of redependent from the side of the HTS player, right? That you can still jump some of those attacks. Scythe has very reliable anti-air, so when you're fighting an attack that is pretty much built around the fact that it has a really good jump attack. You know they're going to have jumping. For example, Kirian's build is a staple for Claw Talisman. And the Talisman swaps that we saw come through, Claw Talisman is something that started from the beginning and went all the way through to the end. So never swapped off of that Talisman with good reason. The whole build is built around being able to hit those jump attacks. So Darcy went to the drawing board, said, okay, what can I do to actually consistently break these jumping attacks? And the Scythe was the answer. That I think, like I said, I really liked the intuitive thought there to think of, okay, well, this person only is going to be jumping attacking. Obviously, they're a good player. They're mixing other things. But realistically, the build is designed to jump attack. What can I do to clean that up? And I think the Scythe was a really interesting choice there.
Yeah, no, it's a curiosity. When I look at sides on paper, they do what I can only describe as a really, really good job of just putting the other person into a decision tree of what the hell do I do here. It's kind of like... I've always said it's kind of like... I like to think that it's like Halberd in an awful lot of respects, and now that it has slightly better frame data, it kind of plays the same way. You have your run attacks which are super strafable, so you have to go for a mix between a run R1 and the run R2s. You have a mixed game with the two-handed side of, am I going to go for standing R1, am I going to go for crouch R1, am I going to dead angle the crouch R1 to try and get that extra little bit of damage? It's super, super cool. I really dig the setup. I'm actually really looking forward to actually taking it out. And actually seeing how good Scythe is now. It could be a contender for another A-tier setup, definitely, especially with the dominance of Halberd right now, and an awful lot of empty spots opening up. I don't know, that might be a hot take. I still think that it does have issues of being pretty reactable from any time I fought it. It still has the problem where it's pretty strafable on some of its attacks.
Yes.
So, yeah, there you go. It's just, there you go. I don't know, I'm kind of curious to see how that goes moving forward as we move further on into the life cycle of this current patch. But we are waiting on Osiris and Darcy to come back in again. Again, this is the benefit of going for round robin tourneys, where basically you get to play a bunch. Everyone gets like 4 rounds, 4 fights each. It's kind of fantastic in that respect. And judging by it, despite our slight delay, we're flying through it, boys and girls. So it should be a good meme. We do have Darcy in world here, and we are just going to wait for Osiris to get in. I think Osiris, we're going to see some build changes here on the side of Osiris, I would imagine. I think he was having some trouble changing his stuff over from vanilla to seamless. I know the feeling only too bloody well, so...
They actually did a really cool. So now in Seamless, you get items as soon as you sit down at a Grace.
Yes.
So I actually recently backed up a Seamless save and ported it to Vanilla, and I didn't even have any of the items when I booted the game in Vanilla. So really, they've done some really cool changes there to make saves a lot easier to swap back and forth. I like the little light show.
I know, it's fantastic. Listen, we should have had an epilepsy warning before going into this one, maybe. But yeah, apparently if you set both of them to both blue and red, they are both blue and red. And, you know, purples. The purples are back, boys and girls. That's... when will Seamless implement purples, I'll be? And when will they become the most infuriating codes known to man?
Yeah, I mean... Aldriches would be something in this game. It would really be something. As like one thing I've noticed in this game is I feel like a lot of like in Dark Souls 3, a lot of gankers like were pretty decent because they still had to be able to fight in a 1v1, right? In Elden Ring, because co-invaders don't really exist, a lot of the gankers aren't. That I'm really curious how like an Eldritch versus a regular person ganking in a 1v1 would go. It'd be a spectacle to watch, though, for sure. Just backhand blade, blind spots back and forth. The Aldrich would be using it Uggs and only using Lion's Claw. Like, they gave us all the tools for Aldriches to use, but you know they aren't in the game, unfortunately. One thing I do want to mention, you were talking about Scythe a little bit. I think it's worth mentioning as we further evolve into the life of this patch. Reliable poise break is going to be something that's important nowadays. You had it in the previous patch with a lot of different things, right? You could comfortably break poise with a lot of things. Well, that's not the case anymore. And even like thrusting sword, you have that breakpoint of 115. One-handed light weapons, you have that breakpoint of 110. So you start to see these breakpoints that are pretty easily passed. I mean, if you just wear Solitude armor with Bulgo Talisman, you're like 121 poise or something along those lines. So pretty easily attainable now to comfortably get over those poise restrictions that I do think, as the life of the patch goes out, reliable poise break is going to be an option that people are going to start to play around with, and a Scythe is a really good option for that.
Yeah, you mentioned the poise breakpoints being funny. I was actually talking to a DS1 player recently who's kind of messing around with Elden Ring the last little bit, and he was saying it's like, oh, I have like 66 poise. That should be good, right? That seems like a pretty. I'm like, this is a very different game, my friend.
Yep.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
I think a lot of folks. Oh, go ahead.
I was just like, and it's like, wait, what's the poise break point I should be going for? And I was like, well, probably no. This is with Bullgoat's tally, SK. He was on 66 without Bullgoats. Or it was like 70 or something like that. It's pretty nutty, actually hysterical. Yeah. It's just, and he couldn't get over. It's like, oh yeah, one of the big numbers that you want to go for now is 88, and he's like, hey, 88? What? Yeah. But my drip, bro. What the hell? Mm-hmm. It's like, nope. You kind of need a big number. This is big number game, okay, in every single respect imaginable. But we do have Osiris in, and we're gonna try and crack on with this. And yeah, no drip for you, exactly, Rust. My fashion. All right, well, it does seem as though this is going to be a sheer mirror. The sheer audacity of these gamers.
Sheer aggression. Taking the day, as a wise man once told me.
Who's that guy? I think we should listen to him personally, LB.
I don't know. He has a problem waking up on time.
Shut the okay, anyway, the bolt is out, the drank is drunk, and it does seem as though both players are chilling like villains. Good trade comes out there on the side of Darcy's. Health advantage right off the bat without really ever trying. I'd be curious as to the build that Osiris is rocking here, if he's made some adjustments, some minor adjustments, just to get everything up and running, as we're going to see this long neutral. Are you a fan of Curse Sword mirrors in this game? Because I know that you were such a big fan of them in Dark Souls 3, LB. How are you feeling about it?
I didn't terribly mind them in Dark Souls 3 because they did a great job of showing exactly what the game was. Whereas in this game, I don't think Shamshir necessarily does a great job of showing like what the game is, right? But that being said, you do get a lot of it is the frame data stick, I believe, as you will put it, but really good spacing coming out from Darcy to try to punish it. Osiris able to get away the running attack to trade through, though. Now Osiris is closing that gap a little bit, 1315 to 1367, getting a lot closer. There's a running attack coming through from Darcy to narrow that up a little bit and get back into her favor. The R1 coming through for the punish there. Osiris having a bit of trouble finding the spacing. The jump attack coming through there. Could have went for a backswing from the side of Darcy. Decided not to. Backed out, playing it safe. Great spacing on the running attack, and there's the punish right through there. The tier pop comes through. Great staggers there, finding the backswing here now down to 125. A trade comfortable to take there. The tier hasn't even popped yet. 605 is going to be popping any second. No swaps from talismans here from the side of Darcy. Just pure spacing and fundamentals and cleaning that one up relatively easily to a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, nice one. A good start right off the bat there. Osiris having actually, 600 HP left to the board. I believe tier was still up as well. So kind of really trying to edge that one a little bit closer. He's definitely kind of made some changes, which we can actually check real quick and see if there are any changes that are being used at all. 55 Vig, which is playing it fast and loose, a lot of end, 20 to 45. We're still on that int build, maybe trying to get some of that frost action, and I really like the PNGs for the empty stages. That's pretty cool. Switching over to what seems to be is that Kiba by the looks of things, which would explain the high dex and high strength intake.
I think that's Moonveil, isn't it?
Is that Moonveil, or is it? It could be Moonveil. Could very well be, and then Darcy staying on the tried and true strength build, 54 strength, 36 end, all pretty bog standard stuff, nothing we haven't seen before. But either way, we do have both of our contestants in. Yeah, it is going to be the Moonveil. You are correct and right. I can't believe it, LB. That moment when LB is right. Moonveil. All right, ladies and gents. LB, you want to take this one, brother?
We have both of our contestants in. We have Osiris in the blue, rocking the blue of the Moonveil, and Darcy in the red on the Shamshir.
And away
countdown.
we go. Kaboom. All right.
both tiers coming out from our players here. Osiris trying to find some pressure and decent little running attack there, but Darcy able to see it right away and goes for the punish there. Finds it through with the roll punish there as well. Great spacing from the side of Darcy, really showing how strong Shamshir can be. A great running R1, trading out there from the side of Osiris to get a little bit of health damage in. They running R2 from the side of Darcy. I absolutely love that move on the Shamshir, but unfortunately Osiris able to see that and get away from it as now the running R1 coming in there. The backswing does not go for it as a side of Darcy. Instead just waits it out, waits out that jumping R2. Good patience, good spacing on the jump attack there. The charge R2 really cooks that one. Actually nearly landed, but Darcy able to get away as the backstab coming into the running R1. But again, Shamshir just so strong on its own accord. If you have the spacing to utilize the weapon, those running attacks and the backswings just go insanely strong. But good trade, great spacing from the side of Darcy, just dancing around that Moonveil as Osiris is poking out the R1s here. Phenomenal play from Darcy.
Yeah, I want to say that there's a thing I like to call pre-spacing, where people kind of like, they exist just outside. Someone goes for a swing, they expect another swing, they kind of jitter out and then immediately come back in to try and get that aggressive punish right off the bat. And we've seen that a couple of times there from Darcy over the course of that round. It's really, really nice to see it. You know, the prime example I would always give of that is in Dark Souls 3, someone on Uggs will roll out and you're just kind of going to jitter out. Of course he's going to go for the only move that has any hope of hitting anyone in that game, and then you immediately come back in for a punish. It's a really, really nice movement, and some really good plays here coming out from the side of Darcy's, which again, those unorthodox run R2s to try and get those catches, the jump attacks coming through to try and get extra little bits of damage. Really, really nice stuff, and GG's to both.
Is that a scythe?
Is that a scythe? Is that going to be this tournament in a nutshell? Is that a scythe?
That'd be phenomenal.
Are scythes out?
Is that a scythe?
Yeah.
I think that's a scythe.
It is, you know, judging by my powers of deduction, I can say 100% it is in fact aside. The farming implements out in force once again. You know, it was murky before, and now it seems the side is the next. I'm coming from behind. Might as well go for it. But either way, we are going to have both players going for their little bit of sip. We are going to see the greases come out, but no daggers. Been very, very nice to each other today, as we are going to see that crouch R1 getting the interrupt. Another one. La Vortex is coming through here. Good movement here, and tries to go for that really fun free aim. There is the side of Dar. Oh. Well, something happened there. I think it was desynced from us. Oh well, seamless memento. Forced back in now once again. Darcy's is going to be interrupted here. Goes for that R1. Osiris is very, very low here. Is going to be interrupted now once again. Takes that. Oof.
And the backswing to follow it through. It was the third wave of Waves of Darkness. We just couldn't see it, but it does actually anti-air. So yeah, Darcy went for the jump there, and that was, I believe, what threw them on the ground. But I mean, I'm a big fan of Uggs in general. I think it's a lot of fun to use. I really, really liked it back when it was broken, shockingly enough. But even the current iteration of it, I do think it's pretty fun. You can play around with it a little bit. Your movement alone can still force rolls, even though the weapon is very reactable. Just the movement of how well you're blending those animations, people can kind of get a little bit of PTSD, if you will, and start to roll it a little bit. So I do really like seeing it come through from the side of Darcy here. Really clean showing from Darcy this entire set, and just a clean 3-0, switching it up with using meta, using something a little bit off meta, really just showing their fundamentals.
Yeah, and doing a really good job. Again, this is someone who came into the competitive scene just kind of like all of a shot. They just kind of were chilling. They said, "Oh, this seems really cool. I'll join." And now look at them. They're much like Pablo in the last tourney. You know, someone who went from having pretty much not zero dueling experience, but against decent players in like seamless maps and stuff like that, to eventually winning the beginners bracket tourney, which I think Darcy's definitely a contender today by the looks of things with how she's playing.
Absolutely. Yeah, the spacing has been really, really clean from Darcy. I've really enjoyed watching them play. They're really just highlighting what Shamshir is so good at, right? It's so good at getting in and getting out and finding pressure and the roll catch and all of that stuff, and just really highlighting your fundamentals as a player. And, it's one of those things that I do enjoy about it is it's one of those weapons that, even though it is one of the strongest weapons in the game, if you don't know what you're doing on it, it's not that strong. So I really like to see players that know what they're doing on it and are just super clean with everything.
Yeah, and I just want to say to Osiris as well, dude, it's first tourney. No pressure. This is here. We're having this all together here to have a little bit of fun, dudes. That's like the overall idea. Is like just a much more safer environment where no one's going to get space rangered round one, and it's a round robin tourney. So think of it like as an extended practice session. There's nothing on the line. It doesn't matter. Just keep on keeping on. You got this, dude. And thank you so much for coming at the end of the day. And that's kind of one of the purposes of these beginners brackets. Is I think I wrote in the challenge. You know, there's nothing more horrible than rocking into a bracket and getting space rangered or bevaned round one. You know, I think we should use that as a that's the easiest explanation of it. And it's happened in so many den tourneys over the last few years. You know, someone comes up, they're a pretty new player, they're like, oh, I'm going to try this, and then the highlight message space ranger happens, and sometimes you just never see them again, and it's super unfortunate. And I hope that this encourages more people to give it an old rattle, which you can do by joining the Discord. That was a really good plug. All right, that was good. Yeah, we got we got this. All right, we are just
Kevin
waiting
Gates,
for our
you got
next
the
player.
plug.
Sorry.
Said Kevin Gates the way you got the plug.
All right, well, we're just waiting now for our players. It is going to be A2 versus Heaven. And
I'm more of a fan of A1 sauce, I'm gonna be honest.
What, the who now? All right, you're gonna have to explain this Yankism. What's the what are you on about? Come on now. You have to explain the joke. You made it.
The steak sauce, come on.
Is it?
Surely you have A1 steak sauce.
I don't think we do.
In your little slice of communist democracy.
Well, the People's Republic of Ireland is doesn't really have all that many things from the United States. I'll think. I mean, the steak sauce and stuff like that. We have. What do we even have really for it? Like, there's a few of them, but no A2. I've never heard of that before. All right, well, you learn something new every day. All right.
Yeah, I'm more of a like traditional. I just like my steak with no sauce because if they're cooked right, you don't need them. But A1 sauce does go pretty hard for like, if they butchered the steak, it can kind of save it.
I see what you did there with the butchering of the steak. Good job. Yep.
That wasn't even.
I see.
Wouldn't get past you. Wouldn't get past
you. But either way, we're just waiting for Heaven. Heaven on Earth here could come a little bit sooner, as we are just waiting to get our duder in. Ross, let's see what do you reckon, boys and girls? How are you feeling? Space Ranger verb. A2 comes from near. Okay. It was on A1 sauce. Okay, cool. Bevan, adjective. Nice one, Sip. All right. Well, we do seem to have both of our players in now. They're just getting into their respective corners, but it does seem that it's going to be Great Cat, and I'll just have to check what our other contestant is using, because I believe Great Cat here is really, really interesting. And it looks like it's not sure if it's Rakshasha or not. Aha! Side off Axelby.
I mean, working that graveyard shift, I don't think anybody will get a scythe past you, but it looks like both of our players are in Endo. We have Heaven in blue and A2 in the red.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, on a 3, 2, 1, lay, and away we go. We are going to see the immediate Egon, the spear. I'm just going to call it Follower's Javelin from here on out. I don't care what it's called. My beloved. Frostpot does actually manage to land there, and we do see it. I can't tell if it's Rakshasha or the base Grey Katana here. It is the Rakshasha, but the looks of things here as we get yet another interrupt. Going to absolute town here is the side of Heaven, who is looking to put A2 right there, but the run attack comes through there. It's not quite going to be able to land, and the jump attack comes through, and that's going to be Heaven.
The first flawless we've seen today?
It might actually be. Yeah, most of the fights so far today, even the ones that have been pretty one-sided, have been kind of scrappy. This is like wild. Ow, that hurt. That hurt a lot. The Rakshasha is really hard to approach, LB, just by virtue of the fact that it has so much hyper armor. That you're kind of not sure what to do, as well as that, like those very fast pokes that can come out in the nice little mix game. Are you going to go for the follow-up R1? Are you going to go for the crouch R1? It's oof. It's a messy one, but LB, ladies and gentlemen, round 2. Heaven is currently up 1 in our best of 5 here, and it does seem as though our contestants are ready to go.
And the bolt is in. The drinks coming out from each side there. Interesting choice for the Ash of War here. I do appreciate that on the side. So we're continuing the pressure there from the side of A2. The jumping attack punished out by that run attack. Going for the backswing there is the side of Heaven. Good read from A2 to get away from that. The running attack comes through the off-axe trying to punish, but the recovery able to come through from the side of Heaven. And now we're going to continue to see these circles trying to push push A2 back, or sorry, push Heaven back in the corner. And then we're going to see the HTS swap. I really do like one thing that Heaven is doing here as well is the shield on his back is actually the main hand weapon. So what that allows you to do is it allows you to get your swaps off without really worrying about being stuck without a main hand weapon or with a main hand weapon that you don't necessarily want, and you still have the hyper armor from the offhand. So it's a really cool setup. I like it when you're using the two-handed weapons like this. Great free aim on the backswing to find the pressure there. Good roll catch there, and then just the straight R1 into the backswing. Not able to find the backswing. Pressure from A2 on the off-axe, trying to find it in, but we're going to reset to a neutral. The Ash of War trade comes through. The flaming strike's going to catch 191 health to poke there, and knowing they're going for the jump. R1 is the side of Heaven. The scythe's pressure still comes out from A2 though. Says, if you're going to press me, I'm still going to be here to, to deal with that. But now we're going to finally see a talisman swap from the side of Heaven. Hasn't needed to yet, but now we're going to see the pressure coming through from A2. Heaven trying to find the roll catch, goes for the R1 poke, unable to find it there, and then the flaming strike comes in. Interesting to stay on the heavy thrusting sword here, and there we are going to see actually the flax. Very interesting choice. The running attack is going to find it into the Ash of War, but didn't need it. Heaven cleans it up in a 2-0 lead.
2-0 so far. Heaven's been in quite a number of these tourneys so far, and has been doing consistently better and better. This is, of course, A2 is a very, very green player, very, very new, and I think it was like the first week or so of PvP, and decided that, I'm going to enter a tourney and see how I do, and was super hyped to have them back again today. They've been, I want to say that they have really, really nice, and I will say this, they're very nice discipline on those Hall Axe shenanigans. The Hall Axe is, in the last tourney and from some of the sets that I'd done, I'd pointed out, listen, you're mashing that thing way too much. You want to be much more reserved with it. Use it as you need it, coming into the pressure, and they're credit where credit is due. They've cleaned that aspect of their play up very much so, but I think it could be one of those mental things, LB, where you're more worried about, I need to do this correctly, that everything else kind of falls apart. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, it does seem as though both of our contestants are in. Heaven up 2-0 in our best of 5, A2 not out of it yet, and it will remain to be seen how it is going to go. And the bolt is out, the physics are drunk, and the great pot is out. Oh, and we are going to see the Cirques. Goes for that crouch attack there, and just as an interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, I believe this is the best backhand blade that I've allowed in bracket, and you can see that it's still able to do quite an amount of damage. Have you had an opportunity to play with these things yet, LB?
I actually have them on my Dex build. They are very strong. You still have, just the moveset of the backhand blade is quite rude. The running attack, you can see, just immediately able to follow it up with a crouch attack there from A2. You have a phenomenal running R2. See, the no recovery on those running attacks. And I think you were even seeing me mess around with like free aiming them, and you can get some pretty wonky hitboxes out of them. Good jump coming through from Heaven there, though, but A2 able to get away there, and now we're resetting to a bit of a neutral. This does seem to be an answer of some sort, as A2 has found a little bit of damage. Good running attack, tries to chain it into another one, but this also with that low recovery and into an attack can just get away pretty scot-free after landing the running attack. So it is just a recovery machine in terms of that. Good running R1 there, just trying to force the pressure on the side of Heaven, but Heaven now probably looking for a trade. Great roll from A2 there, and goes for the backswing poke, and then we're going to see the pressure come through there from A2, and that's exactly how you need to fight this great katana. You need to wait for them to be outside of their hyper armor. Unfortunate backstab attempt there. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but A2 didn't really capitalize too much on it, and now we're going to see the poke coming through there. Great backswing and great R2 to find the pressure there, as we do see the backswing coming through from Heaven, and now A2 put on a bit of a back foot. The running attack from the heavy thrusting sword back into the harpoon is going to be the side of A2. Just trying, get away from me is a little bit of a keep off button. Great running or jumping attack rather from Heaven to clean it up with a 3-0. I really did like the Cirques coming out from A2 there. I think it was a really, really good choice to try to use something a little bit different, use something that's going to be better at punishing those attacks, because that's the big thing with the hyper armor, the way it functions in this game. The whiff windows to punish can be a little bit of a knowledge check of when I can actually go in and punish them. I think using a weapon with really low recovery is a good answer to that if you aren't super familiar with it yet.
So there's both sides on decks here. Is this going to be like Is this the Dex meta, LB? Is that what we're seeing
Well,
here?
it really depends because so strength, you as you mentioned, you have the two-handing preferences, right? But so the two weapons that we see here are non-infusable weapons, right? There's no affinity on them. They you get what you get, and they are both heavy dex weapons. So it's if you're looking to use those weapons, then yeah, you're going to be on a dexterity build. However, I still think strength is just outright better in the other regards. You're going to get your two-handing, your thrusting sword, so you're going to get better counters there as well. You know, you're going to have your two-hand buff on the Shamshir. Shamshir does just fine on strength. You could make an argument for it on dex as far as pure AR goes, but it does just fine on strength. So it is still one of those things. I mean, obviously, we have yet to see Sacred as well, a faith build.
Yes.
But I mean, you know firsthand, Sacred Blade on either Shamshir or Thrusting Sword goes absolutely insane. And you want to talk about an AR stick, right? You start encroaching the 800 number with those weapons with the Sacred Blade on them. So I do one thing I really like about some of the, especially the way the rules that you have are kind of put together, is you can't just throw backhand blades on any build. If you want to use a backhand blade, you really got to use dex, right?
Yeah.
Realistically, you're going to be using a dex build. If you want to use Great Katana, you can get away with it on strength, but you're sacrificing your hyper armor, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to get the hyper armor with it, now we're going to be playing dexterity. So it allows for more build diversity, so you aren't just seeing either Sacred or either strength, unless you have someone like Frosty coming through with an arcane build. But for the most part, you were seeing strength and faith before. Now we just get a little bit of dexterity in there, and I think that's a pretty good balance out to kind of see some different builds.
Yeah, and looking at it here as well, like one of the things that I noticed, I know I fought Faded there not so long ago on it was a clean rot mirror, and it was he was on faith and I was on strength, and I just wanted to see what the difference was. You know, is that poison mist really a viable swap? And it turns out that clean rot not having access to spear tally or greases or any of that shenanigans is actually kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie. It does. I was shocked. I was like, wait, I'm only doing 200 damage here? Is that what this thing is supposed to do? What? Whereas he's doing like 300 plus now trading me, and of course, you know, NA laggards being NA laggards, trading and everything. You know, it's what can you do? What can you do? But I will say that one just thing on that last match there, that we've seen some really good swaps here from the side of Heaven. Definitely showing that that invader brain mindset coming through of, oh, I have a tool. This tool is for very specific things. I'm going to go out and go for those punishes. Kudos to A2 again. This is, I think, believe the second tourney they've ever been in. The first one was last week, and they're doing an absolutely exceptional job trying to make that side work. And looking at those backhand blades as well, I just want to say the backhand blades do a serious amount of work. They are still very dangerous, even with the as nerfed as they are in the rule set. They're the only things that I have anywhere near ladder restrictions on them with, and they're still very, very strong. Look at those running attacks, covering half the arena with it.
Yep.
Absolutely insane. I can't wait for that to
come out pretty quick too, that you can get some really good like not pseudos, that's the poor word. You can get some really good 50-50s by switching up whether you're going the running R1 or the running R2 because of how much damage that R2 does as well. But sorry, continue.
It's just I can't wait for the challenge runners to be spamming running attacks to try and make their world record just that little bit better, because you just cover so much ground and you get it so early as well as the thing. So bloody early. But either way, we are just waiting for our contestants to get in. I'd ask that Darcy's in A2. Get yourselves ready. Get yourself cozy. Let's get this show on the road. And I just want to say, good turnaround. And the players are getting a great opportunity to get these fights in. And they're definitely putting on some interesting shows here. It's going to be Darcy's versus A2. And then after that, Kieran versus Osiris. Then A2 versus Kieran, and Heaven versus Darcy. We're flying through it, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, you are up. Let me just see who we have. We have A2 back in World once again, and we do in fact have Darcy's Scout up as well. Let's just take a quick peek at the builds before we crack on. It is going to be Darcy on Dex, and it does look it's going to be A2 on Strength. The battle is old as time. Are there any... I don't think there's any real comments here. We've seen what Darcy's able to rock. Oh, it does seem as though they are backwards. Ripperoni.
I was gonna say, I think this is backwards because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Fighter PL helm was Darcy's.
Is he actually wearing it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a whole YouTube video behind it. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting if we see a Scythe mirror here. A2 going with that off-axe halberd, and it looks like Darcy opting for the two-hand with the dagger to swap to for the offhand if need be. So we'll be very curious to see how that goes. Interesting, A2 starting without a talisman slot.
I think they have a talisman slot. I think it's just bricked.
Oh, is it
Why?
just bricked?
I
Okay.
am on the new
Okay.
version. I'm entirely. Let me just double check here because I might restart it otherwise. No, we're on the new one. GG's though. But either way, we'll figure out what it is slowly but surely. But LBU, are you ready, ladies and
I
gentlemen of the
am
audience?
all set.
Are you ready? All right, ladies and gents. On a 3, we do a really slow countdown. On a 2. On 1, I want to say. There we go. Hey,
There
close
it
enough.
is. There it is. And the harpoon punish trying to get the physic and actually traded out from Darcy. I really like the ingenuity here of trying to use these things. Really cool with the flame spear coming out from the side of Darcy, trying to find that punish, the running attack, and we actually see power stance. Great spears coming out from Darcy. We've yet to see that today. Great punishes there. The jumping R1 not going to land. The scythe is going to find some damage there for the side of A2, but looking at a 1300 health deficit here is the side of A2. Really needs to find something to pull it back, and that's the thing with those power stance great spears. They may have gotten a nerf. They still do a lot of damage, and we're going to see that coming through here from the side of Darcy. Great counter pressure there, and the flaming strike into the combo. 159 health into the roll catch. Find it, not quite. The pressure coming through from the side of A2 finds the opportunity to get some damage in and goes for it. I do like that. Instead of just running away, says, hey, I might be able to get some damage in here, and switches over to the Cirques, but a little bit too little too late as Darcy cleans it up with the power stance great spears.
Yeah, and the power stance great spears with all of the tallies and stuff like that that are able to come out can definitely still get some crazy hour. I fought Toko not so long ago, and he was just putting me to town with those things. They're still true, they don't have the damage, but their game plan hasn't changed any. Just the strafes are that little bit more difficult, which is kind of interesting. But Darcy is now on the scoreboard. I said it earlier on, LB, and I'll say it again. Darcy's looking like she might be in the top 2. That guarantee. I'm looking at it here. Of the players who's been doing well here, she's been very dominant and was the only one to give a real decent fight up against Kieran earlier on. And are we going to see the Darcy sweep? I mean, started just before the DLC and is now coming through. I don't know. This is looking pretty promising for Darcy's.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the two of the better fights we've seen so far, two of the better players we've seen so far in terms of just utilizing their setups and pure fundamentals. I really favor both Heavenly and Darcy in this so far.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, looking at this, we have our contestants in. Let's get this show on the road. Still upsetty. I'm still pretty upsetty spaghetti that I don't have the fighting game cams. That's a real huge loss. It makes life very easy, but we are going to see the rune arc here on the side of A2. Almost not getting it in, but thankfully allowed to get through as the Great Katana comes in there. Goes for those crouch attacks. Goes for another one. Almost able to land. The new crouch poke setup versus the old, as we see that nice bit of pressure come through. Tries to force that through. A2 is going to take a lot of damage there. 1400 to 1900. All in all, and back over now onto the off axe there to try and get that bit of pressure, but it is going to be interrupted. The strafe on the side of Darcy's. Managing to go right under that off axe and getting that pressure. The flaming strike comes through, punishing the roll-in. Does elect to roll out, and the roll-in punished once again here on the side of A2. Managing to get a nice little bit of damage on the board. 1700 to 111 and now 0. Ouch. Ouch. Darcy's on fire. Even though it was A2 on fire that last set, but
it's the weapon that's on fire, I think. But yeah, so as we see there, so like the tracking nerfs were somewhat big to power stance great spears, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh man, the tracking nerfs, like they're not playable now. They're bad. But one thing that's important to mention is with how movement in this game works in general, is a lot of the people that were using great spears before the patch were mostly free aiming them. To make sure that they were hitting their target and make sure they weren't getting a half hit, right? They wanted to ensure that. So all you're really doing is making that play style now somewhat mandatory when you want to use the weapon, right? So we saw there Darcy had a very good strafe against the axe and had to completely 180 the character to get the damage out and was able to do that, right? So I think power stance great spears is still in a phenomenal area. We now have a talisman to up the damage on them as well, and that's going to be the talisman that actually Darcy has in the third slot, or the second slot technically, which is going to increase attacks after crouching or sorry, dodging or backstabbing, I believe is the verbiage on it, but it does work for the crouch attacks for any weapon that you have. So that is another thing that is going to be really, really big. Actually, sorry, it's not a Darcy, or Sirius that has that talisman on. But I assume we're going to be seeing some type of crouch poke setup come out with that talisman on. But that's also just another little bit of damage, right? Yeah, they got some damage nerf, but now we have some talismans to make up for that. They're still going to do insane thrusting, counter thrusting damage, and as long as you have the movement, they're still going to be really strong. And I think Darcy did a really good job showing that.
Yeah, and you know I think the trying out those different swaps as well from the side of A2 was definitely a good play. I think we might have seen a bit more of that backhand blade. Might have done an awful lot more work. It's unfortunate, it's just the nature of the beast. But looking forward now, we are going to have Osiris versus Kieran, a relative newcomer to the scene versus someone who's been around. Have I messed up? I think. 3. 1 second now, we're just getting some admin shenanigans sorted out in the background. I know you're a big fan of the admin stuff, LB, but so anyway, how would you fix my rule set? I'm gotta contract you in real quick, just to
Well, for one, I would go to 120 points so people can have fashion.
yeah, they
Fashion is important. Come on, haven't you read Reddit?
real? Are you sure? I'm going to be honest with you. I step on Reddit every now and again. I see a post that confuses me, LB, and then I go absolutely nowhere near it again for another 6 months. I don't think for Souls it's a particularly good source of information for Soul stuff. Oh, there's tech stuff, fancy tech stuff. Maybe I'd take it, and I'd take it in a heartbeat. But man, some of the stuff that comes out of there is a head scratcher for real. And just looking at it here, it does seem as though we're waiting on Osiris to get in, but it is going to be Kieran right off the bat, who, if I'm unmistaken, what is he going to be rocking? He's going to be rocking Hall Axe.
Albert Axe.
Interdasting. Oh, actually, we got it back.
That was Osiris, I think. I think Kyrian is running their standard of I can't actually remember the name of it, but it's what's the guy's Goss's
the Dandelion. Weapon. With the Solitude and the HTS. I can't remember the name of that helm. Oh dear. Oh no. This is gonna be messed up. And Bevan says he's looking for duels. Hey, listen, Bevan, I think you got some promise as a player. I think you should hop in the bracket real quick. I think you got what it takes to go far in this game, Bevan. But
I think if Bevan entered this tournament, it'd be more pressure on him because he lost. That'd be like tragic.
I think would his mental be able to handle it is the question.
That's a great question.
All right. Well, either way, we do have both of our players in, ready to go. Let's get this show on the road. You're shy. I'm sorry to hear that, Bevan. Don't worry, everybody. He got this. Oh, and there we go. He did actually. Osiris did elect to physics slightly early. I'll warn him in future about that one. But either way, we are going to see both of our players chilling like villains here, trying to find opportunities to get some damage in. We do see these empty jumps coming through here as well, trying to get that pressure. Force back in there. Is this actually who I think it is? I'm not sure. Old Vigor Tally. Yeah. Force back in now. Once again, we are going to see Osiris here going for these empty jumps. Force back in now, going for a running attack there to try and get a little bit of damage. Chilling here in neutral. Force back in now again, actually managing to get some R1 to that dagger, the axe mash into a backstep. That off axe is just going to absolute town. Force back in here. Once again, we are going to see the crouch attack come through. Force back in now. Run attacks running through, managing to get some decent damage. Force back in. The HTS is doing some really good work here. And the Flaming Strike to try and get that pressure. Force back now. Osiris is in a spot of bother. Is he going to be able to actually get through? Force back in now once again. And then the trade comes through. And that is going to be Kieran taking the first round. And
yeah, Kieran, this weapon is a really, really good knowledge check. And it's really good at, like, it's not a great weapon, right? It's not going to be your top tier weapons, but you have the ability to take those trades. It kind of gives heavy thrusting towards something it didn't have before. That can be a lot for players to try to work their way around and figure out. So really, really strong plays there from the side of Kieran to try to find that pressure and that damage with that weapon. I really like the off axe there from Osiris. Did a great textbook job of get them in the corner, mash L1, and you saw a lot of damage come through off of that interaction.
I want to say as well, with some really nice plays here on the side of Osiris. He was very aggressive, a very, very different player than we've seen early in the tourney. It seems the tourney nerves are pretty much set and sorted as we do see the rune arc come through there. But either way, we are going to see the bolt come out there. The bolt is down. The physics are drunk. And now we have a 1-0 lead on the side of Kieran here, but will Osiris find an opportunity to get some decent damage here? Is going to be eating that Flaming Strike, though forced back. Goes for that running attack, actually getting the anti-air. Forced back now once again. We are going to see Osiris keeping up that pressure. The Flaming Strike coming through to try and get that nice bit of pressure. Kieran forced back. He's chilling just on the sidelines here at the moment. Goes for an empty jump. Actually managing to land an R1. Osiris is very low now, and the charged comes through, but he is going to be interrupted. Osiris going for that standing R1 there. And is that going to be a true combo? Not able to land it. The hyper armor just isn't enough, but he comes through in the wind up for that trade. And that's going to be that. Osiris is down. Owie.
I liked the idea from Osiris there of fighting off meta with off meta. Says, hey, he's using something different, I'll use something different. I think they're trying to counteract the hyper armor with hyper armor your own is certainly an option that you can take there. It was just played a little bit cleaner from the side of Carrion there. Again, that heavy thrusting sword does some work. It has some really, really good counter hits on the jump. As again, we mentioned that Claw Talisman, just an absolute staple on this build because of the extra pressure that you're going to get from those jump attacks. But again, utilizing that hyper armor, Carrion's done a really good job of utilizing the hyper armor and knowing that they're going to come in for the trade. And we've really only seen the R2s in the instances where we're actually seeing trades. There's not a lot of missed R2s coming through from Carrion, which says a lot about your ability to read as a player.
Yeah, and he's doing really, really well. He's pretty versatile in terms of the ways he's actually able to get that nice bit of pressure. He's playing for those true combos like he should, and that thing hits like an absolute truck. Like, regardless of how reactable it is, just the risk of eating like the true combo off of that thing is obscene. And you know what? Kudos to Kieran. He's doing a good job. He's utilizing that as part of his mind games and stuff. And chef's kiss. Never thought I'd say that about the kid, but you know what? There you go. All right. Well, either way, it's been a long time since those slicer nerfs, and I had one DF run too many, taking that absolute nuclear slicer damage from Kieran. Owie. But either way, LP, we are going to see the physics. We are going to see both players here going for those nice little damage. The Flaming Strike comes through, managing to get a nice little bit of damage force back now. Once again, Kieran looking for those jump attacks coming through, and the Flaming Strike managing to hit. Flaming Strike is actually really neat on that HTS, LB.
I agree. I think this is one of the few boss weapons that you actually can put Affinity and Astral Wars on, which makes it really, really interesting. Great hyper armor trade there from the side of Kieran, and you're going to see Osiris falling back a little bit in terms of health here, almost 1,000, or actually a little bit over 1,000 in that, and good pokes there coming through. Goes for the R2 trade there, but just a little bit too late on charging the hyper armor. Great jump actually coming through there as well, and there's a good punish with the running attack. Goes for the Flaming Strike, tries to find the pressure, and then there's that R1 poke coming in, and 140 health left is going to be the side of Osiris. I think Carrion is going to be comfortably finding that last little bit of damage, but we'll see how it's going to work out as we do some talisman swaps coming out, really just trying to regen some health, hang out, wait for that to come through, and now we're going to see the punishes coming through there from the side of Kyrian and going for the pressure. Goes for the R1, the backswing is going to catch, and that's going to be Kyrian taking it in a 3-0 sweep. But one thing you mentioned before that fight started was the Flaming Strike on there. I think it gives a weapon that doesn't have a lot of get off me buttons, a get off me button, which is something that Flaming Strike does a phenomenal job of. Like, you do have that hyper armor R2, but at the end of the day, you are using a purely reactable weapon. That it can be awkward if somebody is just constantly pressing you. That Flaming Strike can give you a little bit of breathing room and can also allow you to get some really, really good pressure. When you do get somebody in the corner, you can get that corner damage, where otherwise it's going to be tricky to try to find your damage when they're in the corner.
Yeah, and obviously having Flaming Strike in a corner is just a nasty piece of work, LB. It's absolutely horrific, the amount of damage you can do, and it's more or less unavoidable as well. You're stuck in the corner. They know that you have to roll out, and they can set it up just get that crazy damage. But I will say as well, we've seen a very different Osiris here from what we'd seen earlier on those runs. Very confident, forcing that bit of pressure. We've seen going for the halberd play especially. I was actually quite impressed how aggressive he was with it, moving in, getting some really, really nice damage in. And I have to say, GG's WP played an absolutely phenomenal job, and I can't wait to see how they do later on in this bracket, because again, we're seeing some very, very different plays here from the side of Osiris. confidence at long last. It happens. It takes a little bit. I know. Everyone has tourney nerves hit differently. And we're seeing now that Osiris is finally getting over that hump. The adrenaline's running down. It's like, okay, now it's time to lock in and to have a I'd win moment. But either way, it is going to be A2 in this next round versus Kieran, I believe. It is indeed. Yes, it is going to be up against Kieran, not Osiris. So...
Yeah, one thing as well as on the topic of like tourney nerves and stuff, I think the round robin really allows players to work through those tourney nerves, right? They don't just get that one match and then they're done, or maybe they get a loser's bracket match. They get a solid amount of matches to get the tourney nerves out of the way, get used to it. So I think it's a really, really good decision from your side as a for a beginner's bracket. Round robin seems to work perfectly.
Yeah, and the only downside is for time. I think I did the math on it. Like, there's something like, what is it? If I do 5 players, it's like 50 potential rounds that could happen. So it's pretty quick as well, which is really nice. 6 players, it goes up to 75, which is about, if I'm being honest with you, about the same amount of time as a regular ass bracket takes, if I'm being honest with you, with 3 extra rounds. And it's super chill as well. And we always have a finals that comes out here as well. And it does seem as though we have both of our contestants in. Kieran here versus A2. And let me make sure that the players are actually set correctly, which they are not.
I don't think they are, based on the fashion alone.
Well, I doubt that A2 is called I Miss Uis. I'm gonna be completely real there. But either way, are you ready for this next round?
I'm all set.
All right, ladies and gents, let's get this timing right. On a 3, on a 2, on a 1. Never mind. You know what? Scrap that. LA now. There we go.
There you go. Physics are coming out from both sides here. A2 sticking with the scythe and still the heavy thrusting sword from the side of Kieran. And we do find a little bit of a trade. And there we're going to talk about that thrust damage. That trade can do so much in favor for Kieran. It is not even remotely close. But a great jump attack. Finds a second poke there as well. And the R2 to trade it out. Great utilization of it. Goes for that fully charged R2 there. But good reads from A2 there just to get away. Not mess around with the lingering hyper armor. Just get it through. And is that a Smith dagger in the offhand?
Yes,
it is. I absolutely love that for him, but unfortunately, Kieran doesn't really mind too much as he just finds all the damage he needs to there.
Unfork bestie moment. Yeah, that HTS just hits for so much damage. Having a hyper armor option as well is really, really spooky. Funny, I was expecting us to see an awful lot more backhand blades and stuff like that over the course of this set, and it turns out that HTS just does so much damage that it's kind of hard. And you have that surprise hyper armor as well, just to really catch people off guard. It's nuts. I did not expect this.
The AR stick goes insane.
I think that's putting it a little bit mildly there, LB. I'm gonna be completely real with you. Absolutely nuclear tier damage, but either way, we do have A2 and we do have Kieran, and let's get this show on the road. All right, can I get the timing right on this one? That's the question. All right, on a 3, on a 2, on a 1. LA, yo, quick, but we got there.
Kind of had it there. Drinks coming through from both players here. Same mirror that we're seeing before. Curious how we're going to see the Smith dagger come through, but it doesn't matter because Kieran finds a way to get some damage and finds a parry attempt. That is an interesting choice against the jump attack. What are your thoughts on that?
Jump attack, the parry against jump is obviously a really bad idea. I think it's just I have no idea what to do here. This thing is nuking me down slowly but surely. I'm under pressure. I might have put the wrong Ash of War on that, to be honest with you, kind of moment. Oh, oopsies, wrong swap kind of moment. But we do see they're forced back now once again. A2 is just taking so much damage here, and force back tries to go for a running attack there from Kilo, but the actual Ash of War comes through and ow.
Yeah, I really like that Ash of War. I believe it actually has frames. I don't know, this DLC seemed like FromSoft was like, hey, let's just give things frames. But I believe it does have frames, which allows you to get some of those really cheeky dodges through it. Unfortunately, there you just didn't really have the health to take the trade as Kieran was just going to find the counter attack and clean it up there.
And just look at I'm expecting that there's going to be spear tally on this thing. I'm expecting that there's going to be just a bunch of absolutely nasty combinations of tallies that are just going to absolutely nuke people on those trades. And you know, if you're going full blast into a pointy thing, it's generally not going to go in your favor. And that's, as a fencing expert, that really is kind of like my overall take. But yeah, nasty stuff. And ow, I felt that one from here, LB. I'm going to be completely real with you. Ouch. Could you recall? Could you actually remember the name of that Ash of War? I actually can't remember.
I do not know. So I actually didn't find that weapon. I'm gonna keep it a stack, but we're gonna see the off axe finding. So we've seen a lot of different thoughts coming through from A2 here. Really wants to commit to the scythe. But we are going to see the off-X pressure coming through here. Great strafing comes out there from the side of A2, knowing we have to roll that one. Good counter pressure coming out from Kyrian, knowing that the strafes are now something that are going to exist. It's going to be able to keep a nice little bit of mental pressure. An interesting choice, again, with the Halo slice there from the side of A2. But pressure coming through now from Kyrian, finds the backswing chip and trying to reset to a neutral here to find a little bit of pressure in and just kind of hanging out in neutrals, Kyrian. I really like the way that we're playing here. A2 says, I'm not about it. I'm going to hang out. You can walk to me. And we do see Kyrian is the one that's going to fold here first, but does find the huge damage. Where did the health bar go? And a great R2 to trade, nearly gets a tier skip, but we already see a pop come through here. So 2150 versus 800 in terms of health here, and it's to be a tough one for Kyrian to lose, and that all 800 was gone in a single counter hit with an R2 from the side of Kyrian.
Dude, that thing that's obscene. Obscene. Absolutely obscene, the amount of damage that thing does. I've seen it in the PlayStation tourney. Obviously, Mythos doing very, very well all the way up until finals, and then took out a thrusting shield because he's a bad human being. Pre-patch. Absolutely nasty stuff there that it's able to do. Just the AR. What is it with this DLC and the AR sticks? I do not understand it. I can't fathom.
We just bounced back to original launch for a second,
just for a treat, we can go back to launch numbers. Yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take just a very, very quick break. Before we do go, LB, has there been anything that you've been anything that's really caught your eye so far in this first, I say half, but we're over halfway through now?
Honestly, the amount of scythes we've seen has been surprising. I was not expecting to see scythes. I think we talked about GCAT coming through, right? We kind of expected to see some great katana, but a really big thing that I think is kind of taking the tournament by storm right now is that heavy thrusting sword from the side of Kyrian.
And yeah, and I'm not entirely unexpected. It's not entirely unexpected, obviously. Again, AR stick, not the best frames, but definitely something that has the ability to trade and surprise people and take people, but just completely blindside people with what they can do. Just it's a curiosity. We'll see in the later half of this bracket as we move through with the last 3 matches, and then we will move on into the finals. The top 1 in this 5-man tourney will move on to no longer be eligible for more beginners tourneys. The greatest prize we could give anyone, that they don't have to play Elden Ring once a week. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, myself and LB will be back in about 5 minutes. Cheerio. So yeah, anyway. Oh, hi. Ladies and gentlemen. Hello, how are you guys keeping? Fancy meeting you here in such a late time. Either way, LB, we have had some pretty stellar matches so far. Some absolutely stellar matches so far. What has been the highlight for you over the course of this tourney as we wait for Heaven to get in here?
Really just putting me on the spot right away.
Oh, I'll do it.
I think the highlight for me has I think I kind of mentioned it before we left, but seeing the heavy thrusting sword in action, it's been a long time since we've seen heavy thrusting sword be competitive. I mean that's like back like a year and a half to 2 years ago. The
Yeah.
last time we saw it being like actually competitive and like good, like a high tier setup. That I do enjoy seeing it kind of make its comeback a little bit with the version of this one that now has hyper armor, and I kind of feel like we're seeing a little bit of a tilt that players are opting for hyper armor setups. Right, we haven't seen thrusting sword yet. We've only seen Shamshir twice, and the couple times we did see it, it was very dominant. It was used very, very well, I think, from the hands of Darcy. So that's been a little bit of a highlight for me too. Just seeing some really good, clean fundamental play, right? Just the one of the weapons that's like, hey, I have good spacing, so I'm probably just going to win. And I do really like to see that play style in action. But yeah, it's really cool to see.
Yeah, for
To see the
sure.
heavy thrusting sword make its comeback and see people actually opting for hyper armor in the form of great katana in the form of heavy thrusting sword.
The Great Cat, the Rakshasha on the side of Heavenly early on was really, really nice to see. I think that it's so cool. It has so many options. It has quite a few buttons. It's kind of like Cat. And do you know what I've actually fought the other day that's really strange? Power stance Great Katanas. Have you had the pleasure of fighting that at all?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know if I haven't fought them in like a prop. Like I fought them in the arena and I fought them in invasions. I've used them a little bit in both. I don't see the hype. But it's possible I just haven't fought the right player on them.
So obviously Nicola could beat me around the place with a wooden spoon. It wouldn't really matter what the ladle from DS2 or broken straight sword at this point. The girl's cracked. But that thing has frame traps and lots of them. The katana. The L1, if you're point blank and they go for the press in the L1, they're very highly likely to catch you if you roll the right way with the second part of that L1 chain. It's really, really cool. It's the same with the follow up as well. It comes out super quick. It kind of reminds me, Freed's Scythe, just as a quick thing, how it goes through its whole rigmarole and there's a very narrow window to actually get the punish in. It felt an awful lot like that, where you have a very narrow window, especially if they're on Rakshasha, wherein to actually get the punish. It's super, super cool. I don't know if it's good, but it's neat. And I like neat setups like that can really catch people off guard. But speaking of catching people off guard, both of our players are in. It does seem as though it's Shamshir versus, I think that's Great Katana. So we do get to see some more Great Cat action. LB, are you ready?
I am all set.
All right. We'll see if we can get this timing down, LB, okay? All right, bear with me here for a second. All right, ladies and gentlemen, LBU in a 3, in a 2, in a 1, alley.
And we do see the tiers coming through. I'm really actually Darcy opting for the Gugs. So
Ooh.
really interesting. We do also see the Crouch Poke Talisman coming through here, really just trying to stack any bit of trade damage as we can, fighting the Hyper Armor Poke with Hyper Armor Poke. A good poke coming through there. Going for the bit of the Vortex there, but haven't able to see that. Gets away from it pretty comfortably and going for some Talisman swaps. Caught without a Talisman here as the Blessed Dew finally does come through there for the side of Heaven, as we do see a bit of a reset here and using that consumable, throwing out the Follower Saber, or not Follower Saber, Follower Spear. Is it jab?
Yeah. Jab. It would be a javelin.
They running an attack, trying to trade out from the side of Darcy, unable to land that as Heaven kind of whiffs there freely. But the regular R1 trying to find a little bit of a trade there, but just kind of dancing around each other in a bit of a neutral here, Enda.
Yeah, and that neutral game is going to be really because at least with the Gugs, it's going to be very, very hard to actually land those hits. And the Great Katana, for all of the hype about it, doesn't have that really good animation blending without the funny lion helm, as we are going to see Darcy eating quite a bit of damage there, but the Gugs just swings, and the backstab grab, unfortunately, gonna cost Darcy quite dearly there, as she's not quite able to land anything. Both things you can react. Obviously, the Great Katana is faster on paper, just with how it works, but it doesn't have that. It doesn't have quite as good animation blending, so it is still easier to roll. At least I don't have as much problems rolling it as we see the Frostpod here managing to get that extra bit. Darcy's not quite able to land that hit, and the backstab grab again. That is. So, dear friend of ours would say, tragical gamers, that he's not able to actually manage to land that. Darcy's here been destroyed twice by those backstab grabs. You know, Michael Zacky's gift unto us all, but keeping a very patient game as the sword lance is out. Maybe Kieran starting a bit of a trend here in these beginners brackets is that absolutely criminal damage is going to come through, but the swap back over again onto, is that Zavai?
Looks like, yeah. We are going to see this Y-hander perhaps looking for a different Ash of War here. Darcy just kind of hanging out now, waiting for the pressure to come through from Heaven, jumping the trades back and forth here, but Heaven able to find the pressure. The backswing does get punished out, and there's the roll catch there, and wow, great going for it away, immediately finds the anti-air there onto the side of Heaven, and now just like that, we're getting a little more even in health. One thing to note, Heaven still has that tier, hasn't popped yet, so Darcy needs to find a lot of damage, perhaps a tier skip, trying to find it here. We do see swapping over to a slightly higher AR weapon, and now looking for that trade, unable to find it there as Heaven able to just reaction roll away, and the bloody slash to pop the tier. Phenomenal choice there, but gets roll caught in the menu again, and that's just going to level them right back to where they were. So I like the idea there. Swap it out, get the proc going, but unfortunately just lands them in the exact same situation that they were in before, except for now they don't have a tier to worry about. So Darcy had a light advantage here. Goes with the bundle to try to get a little bit higher AR there instead of going for the punish there, but Heaven trying to find the pressure here. The running R1 going to keep them back there from the side of Darcy, and now just resetting to a neutral, leaving the kids at Walmart for a hot second was Heaven, but caught his feet again now as they're resetting to their neutral here, trying to find the poke. Good pressure there from Darcy, but unable to find it, and the R1 coming out, just taking that and saying, hey, I'm just going to immediately go. The Frostpots could be absolutely tragic here if we're able to land them, and the Shamshir coming out, try to finish out this fight is the side of Darcy. Darcy very good on this Shamshir. We did see some really, really good highlight play from her previously, and the punish comes out there, another pressure with the running attack, trying to find it, following up again with another running attack. Great read on the poke, goes for the punish there into the corner. Now, do we find the corner damage? Blue Feather coming out from the side of Heaven here, just trying to find any little bit of an advantage that we can, and Darcy just trying to find the pressure forward. Was that a free aim? I think it may have been, or they clicked on the wrong person. Interesting enough, but we do see the Beast Roar coming out there as well, and the running attack in the corner, and the trade comes through from the side of Heaven, utilizing that Blue Feather, utilizing that hyper armor, and Heaven cleaning this up in a 1-0. One of the closest matches we've seen today.
Very, very close match and some really nice plays. Unfortunately, Darcy could have been able to put that one away fairly lively if they had managed to take advantage of that bit of corner pressure there. The corner pressure huge in Shamshir. You have that backswing. You have decent damage, especially in this rule set. You have access to all of the tools. Again, this ain't ladder. We have access to the greases, the new greases. You have access to your dash tallies. You have all of that stuff. But it just still seems, at least so far, that it's not quite able to. The huge damage that you have access to doesn't seem to be making that much difference. We're still seeing the likes of Great Cat. We're still seeing the likes of that HTS. It does seem as though people are gravitating towards these other setups much more so. And very, very well played to both, though. But we do have both of our contestants in. Ladies and gentlemen, LBU, our contestants, dear contestants, for putting on such a damn fine show for the first all so far. Let's get this show on the road in 3, 2, 1, allez.
And our tiers coming out from each player here, and some pressure coming through, trying to find a little bit of chip damage there as the side of Heaven going for that running attack, punished out by the Shamshir. Actually able to find the recovery and get out, though, is going to be the side of Heaven, is Heaven trying to find the pressure. The jumping R1 comes out, unable to find the backswing poke there. Darcy trying to find the pressure forward. Great spacing there, going for the running attack to try to throw Heaven off a little bit instead of just going for those whiff punishes. And we do see the pressure coming forward here. Great running attack there from the side of Heaven. It really just tends to be a who's going to swing first here and find the pressure. Great spacing coming out from Heaven there, knowing his footing, able to find the pressure out. Good pressure there against the wall, finds that running attack. Nowhere to roll, has to get the damage in some way, and he does. Great running attack, a phenomenal negative spacing coming out from Darcy there, and the anti-air and the Shamshir finds it as well. And there's another bit of a whiff punish for the pressure there, trying to find the pressure towards now as Heaven has the opportunity to get some corner pressure. Is Darcy, but Heaven able to just kind of run diagonally across and kind of use positioning to find a way through. So now we see the Talisman swaps coming through, able to get the Bull Goats out for the backswing of that of that Shamshir is going to be the side of Heaven. So Darcy now trying to find the pressure. Good running attack for the HDS, going right into the Flaming Strike, able to get the buff on it, but not able to find anything outside of that, and swapping immediately back over to the Great Cat here is going to be the side of Heaven. Resetting to a neutral, great running attack, goes off of for the running R2, unable to find anything, but does chain it into a backswing there, goes for the running attack, and there's going to be the roll catch there from the side of Darcy, and the pressure continuing, actually gets chipped by that. Unfortunate, but great spacing comes through there. We see the tier pops for both players are frequently out now. And the pressure coming through from Darcy, resetting to a little bit of a neutral here, trying to find the pressure, and Heaven really looking for one of those running attacks, trying to find a trade if at all possible here. But the frost pots coming out here again, things could be absolutely detrimental if they hit. But then we do see the poke coming through, and now Darcy's in a bit of a trouble. They jump around, able to find it. Great read to know that it is not her job to stay in there after the damage comes through here. A blue feather swap coming out again from the side of Heaven. The running attack there, trying to find the pressure on the Great Cat, trying to leverage that hyper armor, but not today. Darcy's able to see that going for a swap, gets caught off guard in the menus now and has to figure out a way to get back. Sticking over to the Sword of Night, it looks like the off Great Katana with the Sword of Night in the main hand. Very curious to see if we're going to see some of those stances coming through here to get some cancels out and some running attacks, trying to find some pressure, but doesn't look like we go for it quite there yet. And the jump coming out, trying to find the pressure, the running attack on the Katana, going for the backswing there as well, as we do see Darcy now finding the pressure back in. It is her turn to swing, and there's going to be the Ash of War, unable to catch the great rolls coming through from Darcy to not get caught by that Sword of Night is a pretty strong combo that can come through if you do get caught by it. But 51 health to 247, and now we're going to see the Ash of Wars coming through, trying to find it clean off is the side of Heaven. The dagger in the main hand, able to really not something you really want to run into. And then the Frostpot comes through to trade it out and is able to find it, and Heaven taking that and another nail biter to a 2-0 lead.
Dude, what a match. An absolutely exceptional one. And you said, that Sword of Night is really nice. It can catch people off guard, especially now as people are still trying to figure out the moveset, figure out the roll timings for everything as well. It's really nice. Let's just take a quick peek at the builds. I can kind of guess that we're going to see a Dex build here. No, it is Dex on the side of Heaven.
Yeah.
Darcy electing to go on that. You need that Dex for that Sword of Night. It's insanely high. What's the Rex on it? It's like 25 or something like that?
22, 23, something like that. Could be 25. But yeah, it's a very high requirement, and it has only scaling into dexterity. It doesn't have any type of other split scaling. It is purely dexterity to my knowledge.
Yeah, and obviously having just like high damage, that thing can just melt people. It catches you and you're unprepared for it, you're like, oh, I roll out in the first part. Oh no, now I've eaten the entirety of the rest of it. What the hell? It's really nice, and I think an awful lot of the DLC stuff kind of functions like that. Yeah, you can if you roll it early, you are in for a world of hurt, and you have pretty much not guaranteed damage, but if they make a mistake, you get a really solid punish on it. But we do see Darcy's back on the Gugs versus the Great Cat. The day of the big weapons, I think, LB, is what's going on here. But either way, we are going to get this next match underway. And there we go. The bolt is out. The physics are drunk, and the players are rearing to go to try and finish this one out. Heaven 2 in red, Darcy's not in blue, and we are going to see these daggers, just little trades, little bits of chip going back and forth here to try and get that little bit of chip. It's not going to make much of a difference. Good attempt to punish there on the side of Darcy's. Has to wait for those rolls though, try and force those rolls, but of course with that Rakshasha, Heaven doesn't really have a reason to roll all that much, especially not early, and Darcy has to be careful on the aggression here as well, because that second R1 or the quick poke come out afterwards and is going to do for an awful lot of damage. As we are going to see Darcy's hit there with the roll R1 on the side of that. Just as I say, Caster's Curse comes out. We are going to see that attempt to try and pressure here. Darcy just not able to sink those mittens in to be able to do the damage that they need to do. But there we go, man. Massive anti-air there comes out on the side of Heaven. Just a bit late on that jump, as we see crouching in neutral, trying to set up for some shenanigans as the swap back over to the shear comes back. Much better play, has the ability to actually pressure and hit him. Heaven now has to play a little bit more carefully as we see these runaways here in neutral. Tries to go for that hit. The run-in punish there. Nice plays here on the side of Darcy, waiting for those opportunities, and as a great man would say, swing first, lose first. I think it was Mahatma Gandhi who said that one. As we are going to see now the force backs in here. The flaming strike comes out, not quite able to land. Force back in now once again. Good jump, but not able to get the punish. The rollout comes out just in time. Force back now once again. We're going to see the standing R1s there to try and get that nice little bit of chip. Good rollouts here on the side of Darcy. She's not out of it yet. Force back in now the standing R1s to try and get that little bit of pressure. Try to leverage that extra bit of damage. And it's a frame data stick, so why not use it? As we see these runouts here. Goes for a running attack, actually managing to get that punish. Nice bit of pressure here on the side of Darcy. Heaven on earth himself. He's trying his very best to get some damage in, but very even match so far, LB. What does Heaven need to do to try and turn this one around and not just get run around the arena? As I say it, we find out he just needs to go for those run attacks. Nice run attack comes through there once again. Tries to go for that, but the Rakshasha's hyper armor cuts him off. Nice poke there out of that. And Darcy trying to possibly go for a little bit of extra grease is going to be interrupted. Good plays here on the side of Heaven. Darcy's is struggling to try and bring this one back, LB.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it there. We did see this a really good battle of attrition between the two of them. It was a long time before any damage really came through, and then Heaven finally able to find those running attacks, and Darcy able to trade a few back, but now falling so incredibly low, a tier to get through and everything. This is going to be quite the comeback for the side of Darcy, and as I say that, Heaven able to find the swap of the heavy thrusting sword and clean this one up, and it'll be a 3-0 sweep for Heaven, though it doesn't feel like it.
No, that was all of those were incredibly close matches, LB, and you know, you said that battle of attrition. Definitely the apt word for it. Both sides getting into quite a nasty little scrap there. And Darcy's, while not quite able to make it onto the scoreboard here, was very, very close. Very, very close a couple of times of actually putting it away. Got overly aggressive on those last few moments, LB, and just was not able to actually make it. And, you know, GG's to both. Probably, if there's a highlight for today, that match is probably it so far. That was really, really solid stuff. And now, Heaven's going to stay on, because it's going to be Heaven versus Kieran. Or is it Kieran? I'm not sure. How do you Yanks say it?
I've been butchering it the entire time.
I thought you were doing it on purpose.
I think I've been landing on carrion. But that's again, that's more of a me thing. That's less of a Yanks thing. That's more of a me thing, I think. Just that I can't read. I do have brain damage. But anyways, we are gonna see, this is, again, two players we haven't seen fight yet, as far as I know, so it should be really exciting. These are kind of the three players that we've been kind of watching and highlighting the entire tournament, was Darcy, Heaven, and Kieran? Don't know. Kieran. There we go.
Kieran. It's Kieran. Yeah, Kieran. Yeah, exactly. We got him. You see, Bevan's out here looking out for a homie, LB. He's out here looking out for a homie.
That's good. But yeah, we have not really seen, I mean, these three players we've been highlighting and talking about throughout the duration. We've yet to watch them fight each other. We did see Kieran and Darcy go. We now saw Darcy and Heaven go, and now we get to see Heaven and Kieran go. And I'm really, really excited for this match. I think it'll be really interesting to see how well Heaven's able to deal with this heavy thrusting sword.
Yeah, and that heavy thrusting sword is really, really nasty just in what it's able to do. Again, forced trades, has hyper armor, but could be vulnerable out here to hyper armor trades as well itself. I don't actually know what the hyper armor value is on it, so it does seem it's going to be the Grey Cat on the side of Heaven. Kieran's, of course, going to be utilizing that nasty HTS. LB, are you at the ready?
Born ready.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the timing down yet. I swear, honest, I seen it, LB. The chat can't see it, but I did. So zaced, bestie. All right, either way, the bolt is out. The pressure is on, the physics are drunk, and both players are out here fighting for that neutral space. Kieran seems to win it by forcing Heaven into the corner. But I actually don't know how this matchup is going to play out. Obviously, you have the ability to... Oh, and the messed up in menus there is Heaven, who is going to be punished there with the Stormblade. Interesting choice here on the side of Kieran to go for that, and once again actually managing to land it, getting a very, very clear lead early on. That's a tech I was not expecting, LB. I'm gonna be real, as we do see the R1s, but Kieran's been put through the one-man blender that is Le Vortex here from the side of the Great Katana. Forced back into center now. We are going to see Kieran keeping that very dominant position here, try and force Heaven into the corner, maybe utilize some of those wall bounces there to get some extra damage off of that Stormblade, but the hyper armor trade comes out, and it is very clearly in the favor of Heaven. Heaven wins once again, but we're going to see this now forced back into center here. The jumping R1s come out, not quite able to connect, but that trade comes out into the true combo. Heaven is knocking on Heaven's door right now by the looks of things. Into a loading screen. Ouch, jeez Louise. You're going to have to explain to me what's going on there, LB. Is this just the old Endotech of how do you answer hyper armor? You get better hyper armor? Is that what we're seeing here?
What we're seeing is, so one thing that heavy thrusting sword has is really, really good jump attacks, right? We've talked about that the entire time. Well, one thing that those jump attacks is they come out very fast, right? That's why you had the old issue where you almost had like a true combo if you landed it before they changed it, right? So you can pretty much on reaction punish the running attack of this Great Katana with a jump attack. And that's what we're seeing Kieran do here pretty consistently throughout it, right? Really good, interesting choice of the Ash of War, knowing that in the face of Heaven that the Hyper Armor is going to win against Flaming Strike, opts to just take it right off and go to something that can poke from range. Heaven has no choice to poke from range here. He has to get in the face of Kieran. Kieran can just say, nope, I'm going to keep pressing my L2 button, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get close to me. And if you do get close to me, I'm just going to jump and hit you. And he's doing a really, really good job of that. That being said, Heaven did find a few opportunities when he does get that damage in to combo it together with a few different vortexes. And I actually saw, I believe, a really good R2 came out from him as well to catch Kieran there. So really good play from both sides, but Kieran just a little bit cleaner on the whiff punishes here.
All right, well, boys and girls, they will remain to be seen if LBU is yapping out his cap or whether or not it is all real and true. Let's get this show on the road. Real and true? Real? Confirmed? Mm-hmm. Well, either way, ladies and gents, let's get this show on the road. We are going to see the bolt is out, the physics are drunk, and damage stick versus damage stick with more damage. The real Elden Ring expression coming through here as we do see that forced into the corner. However, we are going to see Heaven managing to get some really nice counter pressure there, but the R2 comes out, is not going to be able to land into that standing I believe that's an R2 that came out there. Have we seen much use of the kick? I call them kick flips, the feint on the Great Katana. It doesn't seem great from my perspective. It just seems way too slow to be very useful. But could be trying to set up for some shenanigans with that, as we are going to see the jumps go over the top here. Anti-airs are going to be very nasty against this Great Katana. Give lep over those attacks. And there's very little that the Great Cat user, if they guess incorrectly, to be able to actually interrupt it, and without free aims as well, I believe. So even some of the things that should anti-air by rights don't quite do it. So it's actually kind of an interesting one as the Stormblade comes out there, not quite able to make that damage. Kieran, of course, trying to maximize that damage, going for the claw tally and the spear tally there. Doing decent damage. Heaven hasn't managed to get a swap off by the look. Never mind, just as I say it, he does it. Thanks, guys. Jeez, just hate me. They just hate me today, LB. Force back in now. Once again, the jumps are coming out there. Good anti-air, though, comes out here on the side of Heaven. Both players are relatively even, and the Flaming Strike comes out there. Kieran is going to be punished. Not able to get that anti-air, though. A bit of negative spacing going on there by the looks of things. Force back in now. There's those jump attacks come through. He's not quite able to make it the runs. I can't tell the difference between the run attacks and the crouch attacks, I'm gonna be real. They look pretty much similar to me. Force back in now once again. Similar. Not quite able to get that little bit of damage. Force back in, tries to get the anti-air. It's not able to do it. The standing R1 there is just a little bit of keep away there from the side of Kieran. Into the Stormblade now once again. Tries to go for that run attack, not quite able to make it. Are we going to see Heaven take a stock here? Still has tier. Kieran's playing pretty patient. We might see a tier out here. Force back out now once again. We are going to see it. We are going to see just trying to get that true combo, trying to leverage it. But unfortunately, Kieran is just out of dodge at every one of those attacks. Not quite able to do it. Heaven's doing a good job, but he's not managing to find a way to get Kieran to make the mistakes he needs to, as we are going to see the tier gone here. Into the Stormblade there to get that interrupt. 200 to 1200, 1000 damage difference, and it does seem as though Kieran still has his tier as well. Force back in the Stormblade, comes out, tries to set up for some shenanigans, is the side of Heaven with that Sword of Night swap. Oof. Jeez Louise, LB. What a match. As Kieran takes another.
Yeah, Kieran really, that was a lot more, I think, in favor than the previous one. I did like Heaven. I found some really good utilization of the heavy thrusting sword swaps that we've been seeing them make, but Kieran was just a little bit too clean with everything on that one. Didn't make too many mistakes, was able to get away from the vortexes this time, right? That's where most of his health went in round one, was all the vortexes. Took a couple hits, but managed to not let them chain together. So Kieran kind of has the move set downloaded here from Heaven, understands the vortex patterns, is able to get away after he makes a mistake, and just, I mean, some of those jumps with the tracking that the heavy thrusting sword has are absolutely bonkers. We see him just kind of whip around and catch it pretty easily. I think we are going to see the standard dex versus strength here that we've been seeing kind of consistently throughout here.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here, like, it's all pretty standard. Well, the one thing that has always thrown me for a loop, LB, is the end gouge that is that Elden Ring is slowly but surely turned into. I think it's the idea is that he doesn't have to lock Iron Jar. I believe that's the notion behind it, which is
Correct.
fine. it frees up a tally slot. It's definitely pretty useful.
Yeah,
And we
it
see
allows you
here-
to lock. We'll go in his case, allows him to lock Claw Talisman. There's a lot of things that you can just lock, then you don't have to worry about it. And one thing as well that I think you do still also get a little bit more stamina to just smash those jumping attacks.
Yeah, that is true. And mash, you know what? Listen, take the controller, get your forehead, bash the controller, that jump into R1, and you have and you know what? It's a match made in heaven, LB. But either way, let's take a gander here. Both of them still staying on. If it ain't broken, don't break it. Says Kieran in heaven, committing to that great cat. All right, let me count you in, LBU. Let's see what is on the cards. On a 3, 2, 1, allez.
And the physics coming out from both players here, we again are going to see the coming out from the side of Kieran. We actually see fists coming out here. So it looks like it was broke, and we are trying to fix it. Is the side of heaven. And these fists are absolutely nasty. The range on them is crazy. But again, the hyper armor from Kieran might be able to do something about that. But the recovery there from heaven gets the running attack and just disappears. Great play there. And we are going to see now Kieran kind of in the back corner. Those jumps allow him to just kind of play in the corner, and it makes it really, really hard for heaven to find the pressure. Great pressure there from Kieran to find a little bit of damage onto heaven as well. And now we're going to see the swaps coming through on the talismans and the pressure just kind of resetting in the neutral. Good running attack there from Kieran. Unable to find too much here as he goes for it. There's going to be the trade and just rolls out immediately. Gets damage and just says, nope, I'm done. I don't want to stay here. I'm going to get my damage and I'm going to leave. And that's exactly what looks like the game plan is. Leading by 400 damage currently so far in this neutral. Is Kieran going for a jump there, kind of raiding it out, and good roll catch there. Doesn't find the second poke, but does find the Asher War and able to land too much. Really good mix up there. Heaven did manage to find a way around it. As you do see a jumping coming through again, just baiting those jumps and then finding the roll and getting it. But there's the pressure of the R2 from the side of Kieran to find it. Gets a little bit of a trade there. And we're actually relatively even in terms of health. But we did see a little bit of a favor so far in terms of Kieran in the health and a little bit of interactions that we've had. But Heaven just trying to find a way in, linking just outside of it. A little bit of roll discipline there. Great anti-air on the running attack to kind of read that the jump's going to be coming out. Goes for the running R2, unable to land that. The roll's coming through, able to get away from it. Great spacing comes through, finds the R2, baits it into another one there. Now we see the health starting to blend away from the side of Kieran, and that is what the fists can do. When you let them get in on you, they can just absolutely delete your health bar. Great rack swing pokes there coming out from Kieran, but unable to find too much. Having going for the running attacks here, try to clean this up a little bit. Those Patas just have so much range. Great running R2, goes for the R2 poke there, and able to land too much as we now see the pokes coming back from Kieran, trying to find a way to get around these fists. And now we found something that just has the ability to get in and get out, and it makes these heavy thrusting sword so much more difficult to use. Good running attack there. Finds another one in there as well. Going for the trade is the side of Kieran, but unable to get the hyper armor up in time. As you see the running attack coming through, there's a tier pop there for the side of Heaven onto Kieran. Kieran able to get some pressure off of it, but finds no damage out of it. The roll and avoidance are too clean from Heaven right now. Heaven resetting this neutral. Great running attack into the R2. We do see the talismans popping, getting his more health back, just further solidifying that lead. And now Kieran has to figure out a way to deal with this, because this is a very one-sided match here, Enda.
Oh, it's very one-sided here, as we are going to see that flaming strike in the corner. Name me a better pairing ever. Forced back in there. The Patas here are doing a really good job again. Nice of FromSoft to nerf spears into the ground and then give us new ones. Just two of them stapled to your hands. And Kieran's on the receiving end of them here, and I have to say I'm glad I'm not in that dueling square right now, to be honest with you. Those Patas are nasty. I know that there's been an awful lot of discussion about banning poison grease and having status be banned on them, because they get that build up so quick. You can get that what's the name of the talisman, the Kindred Rot or Exaltation, to get that extra bit of damage, and it's insane. It's just nuts, the amount of damage that it's able to output. And we may have to see a change here from Kieran if he wants to be able to do it, or we need to see a change. He needs to force those trades, and he needs to leverage his damage to be able to do it and get that hyper armor in. That's really what Kieran needs to do here if he wants to put this one back here. And now let's take a look. Are we going to see some swappas? No, you know what? He's sticking to it.
Once you say something, it'll happen. So,
yeah. All right, boys and girls, and LB, let's get this show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, in a 3 and a 2 and a 1, allez.
And our tiers are coming out, setups staying the same, and these padded immediate pressure from Heaven, able to find damage. Needs to find it where he can. Great pressure. It says, you know what, I'm not going to give you the buff this time. I'm just going to find the damage, but great pressure comes out from there from Heaven to counter pressure these jumps from the side of Kieran. Good little delay there to try to find the pressure. Nice little R2 poke there from Heaven, just trying to find a little bit of damage anywhere that is possible. Talisman swaps coming through on the side of Kieran. Heaven unable to make that change yet. Just kind of trying to, and there come the changes now. And we do see this, the waggles coming through to try to find the roll catch, but unfortunately it is still such a slow weapon. Good running attack there to find it on the R2. Goes for the running R2 again. The pokes coming through. They're able to get away from it, and the Asher War Strafe for into roll coming out from the side of Heaven here. Heaven able to take advantage of the positioning of this neutral, and now kind of keeping Kieran in the corner. But again, Heavy Thrusting Sword's pretty fine in the corner. It's got a really good jump attack to say, nope, you're not going to press me, but he actually finds the time to get aggressive. Unable to find the pokes there, and great spacing coming out from Heaven, not even bothering rolling, and there's a running attack to trade it out. And now the pressure coming through here. Great discipline coming out from Heaven there to delay that roll, waiting, truly reaction rolling this Heavy Thrusting Sword from Kieran. Good delays from Kieran, good mind games, but unfortunately still fully reactable. But running into the Flaming Strike is going to be the side of Heaven, but a little bit of chip damage coming through there for Kieran, and Heaven takes a lot of damage, gets caught up in the menus there in the corner, and Kieran able to adapt to that immediately and find the pressure off of it. And now back in the corner, going for the crouch attack, unable to land it too much. The jump attack, try to bait it into going for the Flaming Strike trade, but unable to find it with the R2 from Heaven, able to counteract that. Running attack there again from Heaven, as now the health advantage is starting to look a little more clean, but a couple good jump attacks from Heaven and from Kieran, and it'll level out. And what just happens is a jump attack from Kieran to level it out immediately now. And now we're back to a pretty solid neutral here. Going for the neutral R2 is going to be the side of Heaven, able to find too much, able to roll away from both of those pokes from the side of Kieran there is going to be Heaven. Heaven resetting to this neutral, trying to find the pressure forward, but Kieran not allowing that. Says, hey, we're in neutral. I'm just going to jump. I'm going to skip it entirely and press you immediately. And that is exactly what he's doing. Heavy Thrusting Sword, such a great weapon to do that. Goes for the Frost Pot. Good shot there from the side of Heaven, but unable to get too much joy out of it there, as we do now see a bit of a neutral reset and just trying to, again, that neutral skip coming out. Great pressure, though, from the side of Heaven, finding a good running L1 there to find the pressure. And we do see the poke still coming out from Kieran, really trying to clean this up, but it's just, again, fully reactable weapon. Heaven able to just get away from it entirely. Good framing strike, but even better punish comes out from Heaven there. So we do see the R2 trades into there, and now the tier is gone for the side of Kieran. Can Heaven hang on to his for a little bit longer? The flaming strike punish again from Heaven. Kieran keep trying to go for those. Heaven says no thank you and continues to pressure off of them, and now we do see the running attack to anti-air that. The tracking on those is absolutely insane, as now we're going to see Kieran in a bit of a tough spot here, trying to find it. The pressure comes through, the R2 unable to catch, as we do see the pressure coming out there from the side of Kieran, just trying to throw something at the wall and hoping it sticks, but Heaven cleans it up and levels this out to a 2-2.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that need to be said about that round. First of all, I'm feeling first and foremost is you got Kieran's name right, which I think is, of all the plays I've seen so far, that's kind of the most impressive one. But no, honest to goodness here, Kieran, we're seeing some really, really nice plays here from the side of Heaven. He knows when he's safe for those punishes. He's doing an excellent job of trying to get that nice bit of pressure, force Kieran into the back foot, because true, I believe both of them have reactable setups. The difference being is that the Patas just have a much better mix game. Those run R1s, run R2s, you have to be careful of both of the timings, and they have so much range and such good tracking that they're just able to keep up that pressure, get the damage in that they need. And it's very, very clear to me that this is a really, really going to be a really, really close last match, LB. And I'm going to be real. I'm super stoked to see how this next one pans out. And we do have both of our players in. Sticking to that HTS, we're not seeing any adaptations here on the side of Kieran, and Heaven is, this ain't looking good, but I don't want to call it, because we know what happens whenever a caster opens their goddamn mouths, LB. We know what happens, but either way, let's get this show on the road. The bolt is on its way in, and ladies and gentlemen, we are going to see the physics here from both of our players. We are going to see the fan daggers be thrown, well, not fan daggers, the normal ones. There we go. Force back in now, Kieran trying to get some really nice pressure right off the bat, but we are going to see, just look at that. He can just spam roll. Kieran can't hit him. Kieran has to utilize those jump ins, mixing between empty jumps and live ones, and going for those flaming strikes to try and leverage that damage. And the run R1 is actually an interesting one. Caster's Curses, that R2 does manage to land, but Heaven not coming out of this unscathed, as he's trying to find an opportunity here to try and find some way to get in and just not hyper armor trade here with Kieran. Maybe what we might see as well here is one of those bits of aggression. We might see those R2s come out here from the side of Kieran to try and just get that number 1 thrust damage, and number 2 utilize that hyper armor to be able to play off of. I think that might be the play, as we do see the second R1 come out here trying to get a little bit of chip. I say chip. 500 damage chip isn't really chip, but you know what, we call it that anyways. We are going to see the rush down here on the side of Heaven, trying to keep that pressure up. But look at that, the R2s come out into a follow-up R2, getting that true combo, utilizing that damage, utilizing the full moveset here to try and be able to get something out of this. Is the side of Heaven. Kieran is now just, this is insane. Is this going to be another flawless? This what? Against a player of the caliber. The off dag is out.
We did see damage come through Heaven. We were just able to get the talisman swaps.
Yeah, Ripperoni and Pepperoni, we missed that one. As we are going to see now Heaven force back now once again, trying to keep up that nice little bit of pressure. That run R1 comes out now once again into a nice tasty bit of damage there on the side of Kieran. Keeping up that pressure. He's trying desperately to find a way in here. He's just... This is one of those things that just seems like it's a matchup diff. We have a super reactable setup. We aren't seeing Kieran really utilize the use of his setup, but even then, it's like the anti-air comes out into a little bit of mash. Is this Bloodborne run R1 into mash? Real? Confirmed? Real? Force back in. Now, once again, we are going to see that tasty bit of damage come out here on the side of Kieran. He's evening it out slowly but surely, but it's still 800 damage in the difference plus tier. Man, this is not looking good. This is not looking good at all, as we are going to see that nice little bit of mash come out there. Another 200 damage on the board here for Heaven. Trying to keep it up. Kieran trying to go for that. Tries to trade into the R2. La Honor Bows coming out here at the end. What a set, LB. What a
The reverse sweep from Heaven is very interesting there. Giving up on the hyper armor to beat hyper armor and just says, yeah, I'm gonna use Pattas because Pattas are really good and I'm good with them. And it's just completely locked in, completely different play style, completely different player arguably that we saw in the first 2 matches that Kieran took against Heaven. That Heaven just completely 180 that.
Yeah, and looking at this here, like I believe that was the first time. Not only I believe is it the first time. No, Darcy's did take a stock off of Kieran earlier on, but looking at it here, Heaven, I believe he hasn't dropped a stock yet. Yeah, looking at this here, he hasn't dropped a stock. Oh my god. Impressive stuff, impressive stuff. Very, very well played. Very, very well played. But it is now time, LB, for the last round of the pools. It is going to be Osiris J versus A2, both relative newcomers to the scene. I believe this is Osiris's first tourney, and it's only A2's second. It is going to be, I believe, I can't recall quite where Osiris is from, but I'm super stoked for this match. Both of these players are on roughly the same level, so this should be a nail-biter of a set, LB. An absolute nail-biter.
Absolutely, and again, this is... Looking at the overall sets, I mean, yeah, Heaven not dropping a set at all is really, really impressive. But then you have Kieran right next to him. That would have been, whoever would have won that match would have been the person that didn't drop one. So both of those players did really, really well throughout the entire bracket to get to that point. But yeah, really, really excited to see how the second waves are going to start to play here. If we're going to see setup changes, are we going to see anything different? Are they just going to continue what they're comfortable on and try to pluck their way through?
Yeah, looking at this here, we are going to see the swap over from Osiris here onto the slightly more, definitely an interesting one. I believe that's Hall Axe now once again versus the side off Axe. Off Axe is one of those things that I personally am a big fan of. I think that off dagger is still just a little bit more interesting. You're able to get that chip and roll out. It still sets up with the same 50-50s, just you have to actually poise count in order to get it. But I'm curious to see how this next one is going to go. Oh, sorry. Let's actually, before we crack on, LB, let's out of curiosity, let's see let's have just a quick peek at what we're looking at here, other than the PNGs. It does seem to be a Dex versus Strength here once again. Is this just how it's going to be? Dex versus Strength forever? Forever and ever? No faith.
So those actually opting for the Smith scripts is going to be A2 on the backhand blades for a soft swap. Which
you can get the affinities on those. So I'm thinking he figured, you know what, let me get an Ash of War. Let me get something a little more useful here instead of just swapping to the Cirques and going for the running attacks.
And Darcy says she'll bring Arcane next time around. Fair enough. You know what? You know what? Kudos to you for being brave enough to take Arcane. All right, boys and girls. We do have both of our contestants in. Albie, are you prepared mentally, physically, spiritually for what's about to unfold?
Never been more prepared in my entire life.
Hells to the yeah. All right then, ladies and gentlemen, the bolt will be out shortly, and in a 3, in a 2, and a 1, I'll lay.
Our tears, our drink, as we do see the Hell Axe versus the Scythe Axe trying to find their way in neutral. Osiris trying to find the pressure, does manage to get it off early with the the backswings from the Axe there, and just really commits to just getting the Axe pressure there. Asher War coming out from A2 there. I like the idea there. I think perhaps Red of running attack coming through and wanted to use that as a way of dodging it, but fortunately the read was not quite there, but still threw it out. I like to see it there. If you see the running attack coming through from the side of Osiris, trying to find the pressure forward, trading out the running attack is going to be A2, but unfortunately neither one of them going to skate. The jumping R1 is going to land. Jumping R2? That's jumping R1. Jumping R1 is going to land as the trades coming through. They're still heavily favoring Osiris as that off-axe is just shredding through A2 right now as A2 trying to find the pressure, opting to two-hand it, going for a crouch attack, but unable to get it out first. The Ash of War comes through, does actually find a punish off of that and chains it into 2 R1s, and now we're going to see the damage finally coming through and utilizes it again. The Flaming Strike coming through as a means to catch that. Great thought there from Osiris to try to keep the pressure. The running attack favors it there, is now going for the backstep, going for a backstab there from the looks of it. I appreciate it, but unfortunately not able to work as we do see the Ash of War there coming to 43 health, and a dream is going to be the side of A2. If they can pull this back, that would be truly phenomenal. And there's the running attack coming through, trying to bait out, and then the Ash of War coming through and unable to find it as the trade is going to favor Osiris there, but that's going to be a 1-0 lead in Osiris.
Yeah, very, very nice plays here coming out from the side of A2 with that very closest match they've had so far. And definitely that use of that Flaming Strike to counter out the... That Flaming Strike to counter out the Ash on that side is actually a pretty big brain move. Like, you're looking at those opportunities that you know that they're going to come in. That Flaming Strike sets up a really nice catch for it. Good idea, but still, we did see Osiris take an awful lot of damage in A2. If you'd be ever so kind as to get the Rune Arc in there, that would be phenomenal. Rune Arc? Yo, let's go. Hey, again, it's something that's happened to me in bracket as well. I remember. I think it was it during the gauntlet, or was it during one of the FOCs? I think Yas was like waggling at me for fucking ages, trying to like, please, Rune Arc, you silly man. What is wrong with you? It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Osiris versus A2. Osiris took the first round, which we'll tinker with now in just a second. But ladies and gents, in a 3, in a 2, and a 1, allez.
And our bolt is in, our flasks are drunk, and a nice little punish there for the harpoon is going to be the side of A2. Unfortunately, not going to land anything too crazy there, but Osiris kind of dancing around the neutral, looking for the running attack on reaction, utilizing that Asher War to get away from it. Really good plays there from A2. I do like to see that Asher War come through, and then we're going to see the running attack coming through. Trade's going to be out, actually favoring Osiris there, but A2 able to find a little bit of damage to poke through after the fact as well. The running R2 there, crouch attack coming out from the side of Osiris, and there's that scythe to catch it. There's the jumping attack coming through now for Osiris, trying to find the pressure. The Flaming Strike does get interrupted by the scythe from the side of A2. A2 doing a really good job playing around here. Has a pretty good health advantage now, but the pressure's going to come through there from the off-X, rolling into it, able to get away from it and find the damage. The Flaming Strike trade comes through, still favoring A2, and the Asher War comes through, unable to find too much off of it. Still commits to the backswing, though, hoping that Osiris lingers around a little bit longer, but A2 not able to find too much there. There's now the trade coming through there for the running attack, and the Flaming Strike does get interrupted. There's a tear pop on the side of Osiris. A2 still hanging on to there, so see if Osiris can clean this up, but again, that pressure just coming through. The bleed proc is going to be rolled there from the side of Osiris. The bleed proc would have been absolutely detrimental given the current state of health, so that was a really good roll from them. And great strafes coming through there, just unable to commit to it, and there's going to be this sword dance coming through there and traded out from the Asher War. It's going to be the side of A2. Osiris really on the last limb here. The crouch attack comes through and cleans it up.
And A2 takes the first stock and putting themselves on the scoreboard. Nicely done. Really interesting use of that Ash of War on that side. Very, very interesting use. Definitely puts Halberd into a nasty spot, because Halberd is just good, just purely based on its moveset, right? It has a really nice mix game of those run R1s, which have priority always, and of course going for those run R2s. You have the standing R1 that you have to be worried about. You have that habits. Old habits die hard. It just has an awful lot of options. There's an awful lot of buttons, and the joke is like, oh, you're on Halberd. Well, I can just press random buttons and claim I guess correctly, right? That's the idea. But it's super dangerous now with that flaming strike. Very nicely done. But either way, ladies and gents, we do have both of our contestants in, ready to go. I don't believe we're going to see a setup change here from either of them. And the bolt is out, and it looks as though we're going to have both physics. It looks as though we might have some no harpoons. All right, well, you know what? Listen, breaking a little bit of tradition. Again, Caster's Curses, the hyper armor comes out here with the two-handed halberd. Tries to go for that R2 on the two-handed halberd. A curious choice. Holding onto that particular Ash of War here is A2 as she's managing to get some decent rolls out. Goes for a run attack, is able to actually land it. Same as again. Oh my god, Osiris been put through the farming implement is just going to town here by the looks of things. Oh my words, the side is just getting some serious damage. Osiris is quite far behind here, and we are seeing about a 400 health lead, and we are going to see the tier popped shortly here. In fact, I believe we just seen it popped right there. Didn't see the little flashy thing on 4 because we are going to see that run in. However, the jump R1 comes out to try and get that damage. Tries to keep pressure, but that Ash of War with those iframes just comes in to be able to get that punish. Forced back in. We are going to see Osiris now quite low. A2 doing an excellent job here of keeping up the pressure. Goes for a run attack. Not quite able to land. The Flaming Strike comes through. Too far away though. Not quite able to make it. Goes for another run attack there, but good roll. Late rolls here coming out on the side of Osiris, who's electing for that nice bit of hyper armor into the Ash of War. And that is going to be a 2-1 in the favor of A2. Nicely done. Nicely done.
Yeah, really clean play there. Again, you mentioned utilizing that Ash of War. And it's just having something that you can on reaction get frames and have a follow-up on is so strong.
Yeah.
And utilizing it in the way that A2 is, right? Osiris is having a hard time figuring out where is my punish window, right? Where do I actually get my damage out? So really good play from A2 here to kind of put Osiris on a back foot. That first round was so heavily in favor of Osiris on that Halberd Axe, and now we just see, again, A2 is able to pull it back entirely. Actually looks like we're opting for a CGS now from the side of Osiris. That should be a very interesting one.
Definitely a good pick. Scythe always struggled with hyper armor and that it completely shuts down all of its cool buttons that it can do. It now gets shut down just by pressing R1, which is of course huge, absolutely huge. So this is going to be an interesting one. I'm going to be super curious to see how this next match is going to go. We're going to see the same tally layouts as before. No, not electing for swaps here as the side of A2, but honestly, priorities are always get your fundies down and focus on all the other stuff later in time, and it's definitely paying off for her in big time. But ladies and gentlemen, in a 3-2-1, Olay, the physics are drunk. Are the no throws? No. But we are electing for the off axe here. Definitely a good pick here on the side of A2, but that hyper armor there, as I said, coming in clutch there, shutting down everything, keeping up that pressure. The standing R1s come out here on the side of the CGS. Tries to go for that catch. There's A2 managing to get a nice interrupt there, but is going to eat that standing R1 there from the side of Osiris all the same. Keeping up here, trying to go for that neutral. Tries again. Look at that, just completely shut down there by that hyper armor. The side not able to do its funny business at all. A2 chilling out here. Is that a parry? Are we almost managing to land the parry there as well as A2? Trying to keep up that pressure. Force back in there, takes a little bit of damage. And the parry comes out again. But unfortunately, Osiris is just keeping up that pressure. Goes for a running attack. Is going to land here on the side of our A2. Almost getting those parries every time. We're seeing that little chink there. But it's just not quite able to keep up that damage. Goes for a running attack. Osiris is going to be punished. 1200. A parry and a dream. She wants it. But is she going to be able to get it is the question as the run R2 comes through. And again, that hyper armor comes through. And Osiris evens it out for a 2-2. I said we were going to have a very interesting match here. Both of these players are relatively new to the scene. Both of them relatively close in skill. This is a nail-biter, LB. This could very much go either way.
Yeah, I don't know if the parry is the game plan here. I mean, we always make the joke the next one's gonna land, but we've seen like a couple partials come through there. Just kind of threw an L2 out when Osiris hadn't even really swung. So I'm really curious kind of where we're gonna go with that, if we're gonna see any differences from either side there. But looks like both of our players are finally ready, reset, and good to go. This could go either way, Endo. We saw 2 really clean wins from Osiris. We've seen 2 really clean wins from A2. Only time will tell what this last one's going to look like.
Yeah, I'm super stoked to see how this last match point here. Osiris and A2. Osiris in blue, A2 in red. 2-2 match point. Away we go.
And the tiers are drunk, and is going to see the Smith script daggers going for the pressure there, but the R1 is going to connect again, that hyper armor. So throwable weapons versus hyper armor is an interesting choice here. The track is not that great. A headshot comes through, though. Phenomenal play from the A2 there. I don't know if that was intentional. If it was, that was awesome. But we do see the Flaming Strike coming out. Really committing to it is going to be Osiris there. As now we're going to see the off go with the poise chip there, and then finds the pressure with the scythe. Goes for the parry again. So same idea. Again, the next one's going to hit, but same idea. Just utilizing a little bit different. I actually liked that a little bit more. And we are going to see the finger coming out. Oh no. As we do see the jump attack from going for the punish there is going to be the side of A2. Again, still opting for hyper armor is going to be the side of Osiris, switching over to the finger there as the club and going for the offense there. And oh no, the trade comes and he finds it. Oh no, A2 taking just a finger to the face and falling low there. But we are going to see some trades coming through here really close. Again, you mentioned the nail biter and actually angles that behind, but the pressure comes through and there's going to be the tier pop there and the pressure on the rolling attack going for the R1 on that club there. Really just trying to find some pressure is going to be the side of Osiris. A2 really trying to find it through here as we kind of dance around each other. And now the Uggs coming out, going for the wave dash, and here the running attack, unable to land too much, is going to be the side of Osiris. And we are going to see the Smith script daggers coming back now from A2. Actually ducks beneath it with a crowd. Is that a fat roll?
Ooh, it might very well be, and he's slowly but surely.
It is, and there is the halberd coming out. Another headshot on the jump attack is going to be the side of A2, and another one really getting pretty good at these jump attacks. Oh no!
Someone's been
unable to
listening
keep
to
the
Amelia.
pressure forward. Unable to keep the pressure moving forward, though, is going to be A2 falling down. Only 26 health. Really just trying to get away. And these running attacks coming through the jump attack, try to punish that out. Again, looking for another headshot. But A2 really just trying to get away, trying to find these headshots to reset things. The Flaming Strike comes out. Again, follows up as a commitment. Is going to be the side of Osiris. But the crouch attack coming through. A2 is slowly but surely pulling this back. This really could go on. Now we're going to go to the tried and true, the hyper armor of the the curved great sword here. And the running attack coming through. Great spacing. Actually rolls just to be safe. The running or jump attack unable to land there from the side of A2 here. Now it's just a game of can Osiris catch, and they can, and that's going to be Osiris taking it in a 3-2 victory.
You know, there was the worry. There was that permanent worry in the back of my mind, LB. We do a bit of a concerting when, and I seen an awful lot of the DLC stuff, and this is, oh no. Uh-oh. Please don't make Kite viable. So when I say Kite, I'm borrowing heavily from RTS terms, where basically the idea is you run away, you poke, and then the other person has to try and catch you with tools that can't catch you.
Yep.
As well as that, those you said are the headshots intentional. Yes, they are. If you jump and you align the marker with, I believe it's directly in front of you to the other player, there's like one of the markers that if you align it right, it will guarantee a headshot on a jumping.
Interesting.
It also true combos into an R1. So you can actually get some really nice chip off of it. So you get a nice headshot, you get them in a hit stun window, and then you get a true combo off the end of it. That's basically how that setup works.
Interesting.
It's one of the things you can do. I can imagine in certain circumstances it being incredibly frustrating to have to deal with. And especially if you're already fat rolling without the pumpkin head or having the tally on command.
Right.
But ladies and gentlemen, that is our window. GG's to both of our players. What a round. That is all of the pools done. We now have the finals, which hopefully Challenge hasn't bricked, and I'll actually be able to do this properly. But we are going to take a very quick break, ladies and gentlemen. And a reminder, if you are interested in joining these beginners brackets, I do host them weekly. every Thursday, ideally, and at 5:30. If I don't oversleep, not that I ever would, LB. Obviously, I'm very professional.
No, you were having issues with the system. It was kind of crazy. Like talisman slots weren't showing up, and you guys can see it actually is still a little bit bugged there. But ended to put a lot of hours into making that work, and that was why we were late today.
Well, I think I put the hours in, but the wrong side of my sleeping schedule. But either way, LB, do you have any closing thoughts on the pools? How did you feel
Again,
about it so far?
I really like to see the diversity, right? You and I talked about, I think this happens every time we look at a beginner's bracket. We look at the rules, and then you and I think, okay, these are probably the best weapons, and then we're going to see everybody use these. But then we have to remember that it's a beginner's tournament, and that, tournament nerves are a thing, especially your first time in a tournament, and you're going to be fighting against, setups you might not be super comfortable against, that you're just going to end up using what's comfortable. And I think that's what we've seen a lot of people on, right? Kieran has been running pretty much strictly the heavy thrusting sword. It's something he likes. He's comfortable with it. He's been enjoying it. We've seen a little bit of variation from like the side of Heaven, who actually switched over to the Petas, but for the most part was just using that Rakshasha Great Katana. So again, you see people that are just going to stick with what's comfortable, right? I think Darcy, we saw a lot of different setups back and forth, but for the most part would default onto that Shamshir. So even though something like, Backhand Blade or Thrusting Sword or Shamshir is going to be considered one of the best things that you can use here, pretty much any variation of fists, you're going to see people using other stuff that they're comfortable on, and that's one of the things I really, really like to see in the beginners tournament.
Yep, no, it's been really good so far. It's been outstanding showing here from everyone. And looking at it here, before we finish up for a quick few minutes, Heavenly has not dropped a stock yet. Absolutely exceptional. Again, huge improvements from the side of Heavenly. I believe they've been in pretty much all of the PC tourneys, if not most of them, since these have started. So, kudos to him. Kind of very much a Pablo situation where someone comes in, tries out the competitive scene and does well, and it's paying off in spades. Kieran then, who would have been my favourite to win it given their experience within the community, even if they haven't really played in that many brackets, and kudos to him, taking 3 wins and a single loss. Darcy then with 2 wins, 2 losses. Osiris the single win, and 8-2 bottom of bracket. But LB, we will talk to you all in just a moment. Tally ho. Oh boy. Yes, rather. One. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for this Heaven versus Kieran. I'm pretty stoked for this one. This is looking like it's going to be an absolutely exceptional match, LBU. Given everything that we've seen so far, I am absolutely stoked to see how this next one will go. And let me just get this show on the road. So it would be Kieran on the left, Heavenly One on the right. Let's see that everything is actually working. Let's get these builds on show for everyone as well. Looking at this, it is 54 strength versus 55 dex on the side of Heaven.
It's got the extra point.
You got it. Listen, it all matters, dude. It all matters. But either way, ladies and gents, I'm pretty stoked for this next one. Can't wait to see what our players are going to have for us today. Both players are in their corners. Heaven on the left, Kieran on the right. LBU, are you at the ready?
All set.
All right. Ladies and gents, stoked as we are for this last round. Best of 9. It is going to be both players here going for their respective physics, doing these little runarounds. Is that going to be a thrusting sword here we have on the side of Kieran? No, it's an LGS.
It is
LB.
lady.
Very nicely done, but we are going to see the hyper armor coming out here, and those R2s coming out into sword dance here on the side of Kieran, trying to keep up that nice little bit of pressure. Heaven, of course, forced back now once again, looking at both of these plays. LB, have you had a chance to play around with LGS, and if so, what does that setup really do? What's the general vibe of it?
It is kind of a throwback to a poise counting setup. You need to find your chips. You need to find your ways to get your R2s to break. And when you get your R2s to break, you have a lot of chain attacks that you can get. But it does look like Kieran has said, you know what? I'm going to go back to Old Faithful here. He switches back over to the heavy thrusting sword. And then we actually see the swap on Apata's back around, which leads back to the light greatsword. And the light greatsword has phenomenal corner pressure. And we see the swaps back and forth. We're just seeing a swap back and forth. You're going hyper armor. I'm going hyper armor. You're taking it off. I'm going to take it off. And we'll see who breaks first here. But I actually tend to prefer, I like the moveset of the light greatsword with the two-handed great jumping R2 there. Absolutely phenomenal. You see one of the neat things with the R2 having a built-in backswing into one press of a button. You have really interesting setups that you can kind of set some frame traps up. Sword dance complements it so well. Gives you the poise break that you need. Great damage there coming through from Kieran. It looks like Heaven is just going to commit, saying, okay, well, I'll just learn how to fight this with my fists then, because I don't want to fight your heavy thrusting sword. But we do see now as these R2s coming through there from the side of Kieran with the jumping R1 there as well. And now resetting back to a neutral. But we do see the poke coming through there from that into the backswing and able to land either as a running attack coming through from Heaven. Really has to play this really smart and clean to clean this one up, and the R1 is going to catch there though. Those attacks chain together so fast. It is one of those things that the backswings, it can get absolutely detrimental. We do see really good pressure there coming through. Great roll catch there, and goes for the running R1 into the jumping R2. Unable to find either as the pressure now resetting here. Kieran trying to find the way in, and now we just see these jumps in neutral. Goes for the poke, trying to find the backswing into the sword dance. Unable to land anything there, as now we do see a bit of a reset to a neutral. Heaven just hanging out. Throws a frost pot out, trying to find any damage he can. The R2 trade is unfortunately not going to be the trade that he needed, as Kieran's going to clean that up. But yeah, as I was saying, Enda, the light greatsword, really interesting poise counting setup. It can be absolutely detrimental when you do land those poise breaks. You get a lot of successive damage that can just pile on top of it. As I say, it kind of has those built-in backswings with that R2. Really interesting. I tend to prefer, I like the moveset two-handed the most, but I tend to prefer it in a competitive sense with something in the offhand to help with that chip noise. Help with that poise counting, something like the Smith's Grip Dagger, something like a crossbow, even something like a regular dagger, just to get that little bit of a chip in, and now, okay, I break them. And it kind of is a really interesting thing that brings back poise counting.
Yeah, for sure. And the things that I've seen people play around with is it's either two-handed as an R2 stick, is seemingly one of the more popular options. Obviously, you're looking at that absolutely nuclear tier damage that's just able to go to town, do what needs to be done. But as well as that, you see things like spread crossbow come into play, where they're able to get that pretty much guaranteed chip, keep up that pressure, and actually manage to get that poise break. It's very impressive. I'll be curious to see what this is actually going to happen here. But either way, let's get this next round underway. It is going to be Heaven versus Kieran. Both borderline the exact same values in health. I think there's like 30 or 40 health in the difference here. But either way, the physics come out, the patas are greased up, and the R2s come out there to try and get that nice little bit of chip right off the bat. And again, going for those jumping attacks, trying to catch people off guard. With the fact he manages to get a nice little bit of chip here, he does have a guaranteed means of actually getting poise break here, and you see the danger of that actual poise counting coming through here, as we are going to see Heaven taking a nice tasty amount of damage. Get that little bit of chip in, even if you only land half of the hits here, force them under pressure, and then the R2s come out there, and a little bit of poise chip as well, just to try and keep that. He is now in the danger zone as the R2s come out there, wasted that opportunity of that poise damage there, as we see the LGS come out there, the sword dance comes through all of that there to try and get that nice little bit of damage. We are going to, of course, see Kieran here keeping up that pressure, goes for the R1, we see the poise back chipped again on that ghost hit there as well, which is of course going to come in pretty clutch, and Kieran there managing to actually leverage that there, getting that actual bit of damage there, and Heaven is just not able to adapt to it. And I know the feeling, LB, you're actually poise chipped, you're not quite sure the moveset. Very few people rock this setup, and it's very hard to get used to the fact that it's, you know, like I said about earlier on about Freeds, you know, in DS3, you're able to get that nice amount of damage, you force them out there, they think they're in a position to punish, but speaking of punishes, into that sword dance there to punish that overextension here on the side of Heaven, who is pushed back now 1300 to 600 in the favor of Kieran plus tier. The tier is not procced yet, and that's going to be 2 ghost hits there, not quite able to get the damage in. The standing R1 comes out there, but is going to be interrupted. But speaking of interrupt there, we do see that standing R1 there try and get that little bit of damage, and Kieran scampers off with yet another victory under his belt. I'll be what a round. What a round. And they're doing such a good... Kieran's doing such a good job here of just keeping up that nice bit of pressure. He understands when he's safe to go in for that sword dance, a very, very fast hyper armor that's able to do decent damage and really force Heaven, who is a very high momentum setup. It's able to cover an awful lot of ground, but that goes both ways. You have time to get that sword dance out.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that light greatsword lacks, and we've talked about it a little bit, is going to be obviously poise damage, but it does lack a bit of tracking.
Yes.
If you do not play it, like if you don't play it pretty much to the point of like perfection, you can get punished so fast, and you can get punished for a lot of damage. You can. Unironically, you can, if they do like a running attack, you can just passive poise backstab them. That is just something you can do against the weapon, right? So it really forces you to play this play style where it's like, okay, I got some poise damage in. I'm just gonna hang out now, and now I'm gonna wait for you to come to me. And now I can play that. Now I'm gonna get guaranteed damage. Oh, I got my guaranteed damage with the moveset. I can chain in an R1 into an R2, right? Like you get those different interactions with it, and that is where it's just so incredibly. It can be so incredibly strong. I do still, as far as matchups go, I do still like the patas into it. However, Kieran is just playing it so phenomenally well, and like you mentioned before, I think there's a little bit of a knowledge check that goes into learning how to play the weapon.
Yeah, I've definitely, and because it does have quite. And this is maybe just a general problem as more of a general thing. The damage, even though they don't have that poise break, they still have that very, very high damage, especially with stacking like all your Millicents, your Prothesis. You have all of that. You have just all these things that can do extra damage. But either way, we are going to see both of our players here chilling in neutral. Oh, they are mirroring. Interesting. You know, if it's working for him, it might work for me, says Heaven, you know. Force back in there once again. We are going to see both of our players here going for their nice little attempts to catch each other on the aggression, which is nice. And the Frostpot comes out, but it is going to be punished there by Kieran, who just goes through just the twirly whirlies going out here as well. And speaking of twirly whirlies, the sword dance comes out here on the side of Heaven as well to try and keep up that. We do see the swap over just to try and get that light little bit of damage. Force back in now once again. We do see that R2 come out, but Kieran's doing a good job of just forcing that and managing to actually get the poise break on that, and another bit of poise chip into the second. I believe that was the third swing there that actually managed to catch. So many moves as we are going to see the switch back over to Patas here on the side of Heaven. He figures, you know what, listen, I tried it, it's not quite my style. I'm going to go for that R stick that covers half the map, and he goes back in there, goes for another running attack. The R2 there from neutral, actually managing to land there, goes for a punish, and Kieran has taken some very, very heavy damage. Forced back in there once again, and managing to get another little bit of chip there as well, at least in poise chip terms. Forced back in now, it is going to be a health advantage in the favour of Kieran by a very substantial margin. The LGS just doing a great job of keeping up that bit of pressure, and I'm surprised to see it do as well as it does, LB, but it actually makes a huge amount of sense. A huge amount of sense here. Again, punishing that forward momentum, actually being able to punish those poor roll discipline here on the side of Heaven, but Heaven's not out of it yet. He can do an insane amount of damage with those patas, so I'm kind of curious to see as the sword dance comes out there.
Dance.
14 HP in a dream. Are we going to be able to see it? The Crouch R1 comes out there, which is a very, very fast attack, I'll have you know. Very, very crazy as we're going to see it here. The grease is down. Is he going to be able to risk getting the reset on that? Because again, if he guesses incorrectly and Kieran's in range, he's going to be able to put him away there. That is a win condition here. Wait for something with a bit of momentum to it. As that pressure comes through, just about by a hair's breadth, manages to roll that out as the side of Heaven. Force back in! And actually manages to land that hit. LB, what is going on here, brother? What is going on?
There's two things I do want to highlight. You kind of touched on it a little bit with that crouch attack being really fast, but the neutral R1 is actually really quick. It's not something you see used a lot because it's kind of like I need a poise count, so like I'm gonna pop in with this R1 and now I can use my weapon. Right now I have reliable poise break. But you saw it actually there at the end with a finisher from the side of Kieran. It is a really, really quick attack. The crouch attack is also incredibly fast. It has it's a little bit telegraphed. But it still requires pretty solid roll timing because the telegraph doesn't do it justice for how quickly it comes out. And again, you know, when you have animation blending, the telegraph only helps you so much anyways, because with the crouches and things like that, it's going to be very hard to roll it. So those two attacks in tandem with utilizing the R2s is what makes the weapon actually usable, and what makes it where it can be pretty strong is utilizing those little bit of pokes here and there, poke here and there. Okay, I can break them now. I hit them with my fast attack. Now I can actually break them with an R2 chain and maybe even get a backswing off of it, and that's going to re-break them again because of poise counting and all of that stuff. So it is the epitome of a poise count setup, and Kieran understands that very, very well. Heaven struggling a little bit to learn the moveset.
Well, it remains to be seen here as we move on to match 4 here. Will we see a reverse sweep incoming here from the side of Heaven? Back on the Sasha by the looks of things, LB. Force back in it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a comfort thing here, as we do see that running R1 coming out, as we do see Kieran in the menu. And what does Kieran switch to? He's going to switch over to the heavy thrusting sword. So again, it's just I have an answer for whatever you're going to do, and I'm going to keep my answer on no matter what. And I do appreciate that Heaven has committed now. He's just going to learn the matchup with, again, a weapon that he's a little bit more comfortable with. And I think that goes a long way. The comfort pick can be really, really big. But Kieran definitely likes this matchup. He went 2-0 against this matchup before Heaven started to work on a reverse sweep in the first stock that we saw them in. We do see the running R2 coming out there. Now the pressure coming through, going for that jump attack is going to be the side of Kieran. The running R1 now from Heaven, trying to break that out. But Kieran is going to be able to kind of hang out in a neutral here. Heaven at a bit of a health advantage here as you see this pokes trying to find pressure through and switches back over to the paddles. Is he going to catch it before the light gray sword comes out? He's not. And now we're going to see that right back in and immediately swaps over to the great katana. So I got to say, I do appreciate the stubbornness of these two players, that they know what weapon that they want to fight each weapon on, and they are absolutely sticking on it. Great little bit of poise damage there comes out from the side of Kieran. So now we have to watch this next R2 and next R1 is going to break poise. Is Heaven going to be able to work off of that, as we now see the pokes coming through there? But the hyper armor might actually be the answer that Heaven needs here, as Kieran trying to find the way in, and they see the jump attack coming out, unable to find pressure there. The jump into neutral there, goes for the R1 late. There is going to be the side of Kieran to try to find pressure, but Heaven able to get away from it. Is that now resetting into a neutral? Pressure coming through here. The R1 unable to find the poke, goes for the R1 follow up there as well. And now the jump into actually nothing, just jumps over the attack, resets to a neutral, and is now trying to find the way in, as now the poke comes through. And now we're going to see that heavy thrusting sword swap come back, and there's the pad. Is on a soft swap. Is actually going to be actually not a soft swap. It looks like it's in an offhand. Is the side of Heaven, and says, I don't care, but able to see that immediately is going to be the side of Heaven to take advantage of the fact that the light great sword is now what he is fighting against, as Kieran trying to find the pressure. The R2 is coming through, unable to find too much there, as we now see the pressure coming through here. Good jump R1 from the side of Kieran, unable to land too much, and the health advantage is slowly becoming apparent in favor of Heaven here. Heaven has found his footing, but there's that poise break. The hyper armor is going to come through anyways, though, from the side of Heaven. So really good setup from Kieran to find the poise break and get the pressure forward. Another great set of the poise counting to find the damage there, and now hyper armor is going to come through, reset that a little bit, and the jump R2 is not going to land. The backswing from the side of Heaven finds the vortex there as well and goes for that running attack. Unable to find too much as the poke comes through here. Now from the side of Kieran, unable to land anything as they reset them back into a neutral here. Kieran trying to find the pressure forward, has to make up a good fair bit of health, but is
still has a tier to go through there as well, going through the backswing on the R1 there and kind of keeps poking it out. Dead Angle's behind, realizing that he's kind of made a mistake in terms of space, and Heaven still trying to punish it, unable to land too much. The running R2 not going to land anything, is going to be the side of Kieran. The jump R1 into the follow-up, unable to land anything. A lot of ghost hits going on here, a lot of really clean rolls coming out from each side here. So running attack's going to come through the jump over the backswing. Great play from Kieran there to get away from that, as we do see the continued neutral of these players just trying to find a way in. Still has to get, actually, I think the tier has expired now for the side of Heaven, so it could level things out now for Kieran as he's trying to make this comeback come alive. As we do see the running R1 there, unable to land the sword dance, able to clean it up, and now we have a clear advantage for Kieran. Kieran does not want to drop a stock in this. He wants to go 5-0, jumping over it, trying to find the R1 there, says you can play Rajaka. I'm still going to stay on light great sword. Great running jumping attack to counter out the running attack, and the jumping R2 unable to find the backswing on the part of that is going to be the side of Kieran now, as we're resetting yet again to another neutral, trying to find the pressure forward, jumping back and forth. Great backswing on the R2 to find the pressure there. Good poke comes through from the side of Kieran now, and actually able to chain that into the running attack, and now going for the crouch and able to land that as the pressure coming back now from the side of Kieran. Pretty level health on each side. The blue feather out for the side of Heaven, and now also on the side, actually that's red feather on the side of Kieran. Kieran says you can have more absorption, I'll take the damage, and I'm going to clean this one up here. Tries to find the jumping R1 there, but now we're going to see the catch coming through for the running R2 from the side of Heaven. I really love that running R2 there, and he has conditioned him so many times to find the punish with the running R1 that the running R2 is a phenomenal mix up there.
No, a very, very, really nice plays here on the side of both of them, LB. Like you're seeing, you mentioned the poise chip. The Rakshasha is very annoying setup to go for that, because of the resets of poise. So here's how poise works, just for everyone so you're aware. Basically, the way it works is when you use a hyper armor weapon, it basically refills up the bar in so much poise that actually comes in. They've changed the values over the last while, but an awful lot of the DLC stuff seems to be on the old system. So refilling poise using hyper armor is a tried and true. You used to see it in Dark Souls 3 as well. Between rounds and fight clubs, it's like, okay, I need to refill my poise. I'm just going to Uggs or Endure or one of those things to just get that bar right back up where it needs to. Wasn't quite as relevant in that game. It very much is in this one. If anyone ever says something like, oh, and you don't understand why, it's like, oh, Twin Blade gets shut down by hyper armor, last patch especially, in this game. Well, the reason for it is quite simple. The reason is you can't get that poise. It invalidates all your poise chips, so you can't get your big damage combos out from that run R2. So, you know, the second part of the R2, you know, it's kind of crazy. Curious that Kieran is actually sticking on those on the LGS versus the cat. I think a counter pick might have been better, but you know what? We'll just have to wait and see what happens, as we are at 3-1, round 5 in this best of 9. LBU, are you at the ready?
I am all set.
Hells to the yes. 3-1 on that last stock as well, I'll be. Probably the longest one we've seen so far.
Absolutely. The bolt is going to be in. Our physics are going to be drank and actually just going to stay on the light great sword. Again, Kieran, you mentioned the counter picks. Kieran's tried to counter pick. I think he would just rather fight this than fight Patas on the light great, on the heavy thrusting sword. But the anti-air coming through there from the neutral R1 on the great katana. Really good utilization of mixing in those neutral R1s. Good little poise chip there. But again, the bar is going to get filled back up. Does manage to find an R2 to break the poise there. Is going to be the side of Kieran, able to get a pretty good set of damage off of it. And there's going to be just kind of swinging in there, hoping that Heaven wants to take a bit of a trade, but there's the trade that Heaven wants, and Kieran is going to fall victim to it as they're resetting to a neutral here, trying to find the way through. The tails and swaps coming through on both sides here, going for full successive attack is going to be the side of Heaven, but great jump attack there from Kieran, able to find that pressure, and we're going to see a little bit of a health advantage starting to favor Kieran here.
Yeah, definitely, and looking at it here so far, the amount of chip that we're seeing, slowly but surely, you know, it's a death by 1,000 cuts, as someone might say. It's, you know, it's a bit of a battle of attrition going on here, you know, keeping up that nice amount of damage, getting it slowly but surely, chipping him away. That's kind of going to be the play here overall. Slowly but surely, just make sure that he forces Heaven into a position where he has to make risky plays in order to bring it back. But those missed spaces and stuff like that are going to be very, very costly, as we are going to see the tier procced now on the side of Heaven. Kieran with a fairly dominant, but that backstab grab is going to be pretty tragic here. You know, there's some drywall that's just after getting borked there after that one. As we are going to see Kieran now continuing here with these jump R2s. Definitely the play here to try and get that extra bit of damage. We may see some standing R2s to try and punish any over aggression, or even better, sword dads coming through, LB.
Yeah, and Sword Dance complements the Light Great Sword so well too. And we have the corner pressure, and there it is. Able to get the strafe around though. Is gonna be the side of Heaven. Ooh, nice little bit of damage comes through there from the side of Kieran, and he's able to clean that up. And he actually found the footing there to comfortably take this one into a 4-1 lead, putting this onto a match point.
Match point. It's do or die now for Heaven if he's not able to bring this one back, LB. You know, an awful lot of these have been some pretty interesting stocks, and it's been not as one-sided as I was expecting for the LGS. It's actually holding its own here, managing to get those nice little bits of chip, nice tasty amounts of damage. Huron leveraging the fact that, yeah, your weapon's fast, but I also have means of engaging with you in a way that actually kind of counters your setup. Having an awful lot of air attacks, especially against something like Great Katana, can be very rough, and not having an Ash of War that's like particularly usable as well is going to be pretty problematic here for Heaven. But we'll see if he goes for a swap. He's electing to stay on that Great Cat by the looks of things, and LB, it's time for what could be match point. And ladies and gents, 4 to Kieran, 1 to Heaven, and on a 3 and a 2 and a 1, Allez.
And the tears coming out from each side here, looking for some early chip, is going to be the side of Heaven with those daggers. I'm going to land too much. Kieran just kind of jumping back and forth here. Actually taking to the air himself is going to be the side of Heaven. The running attack unable to land too much. Great backswing there. Delays it just enough to get the anti-air on it. And the jumping R2 into the R1 following up from the side of Kieran. Unable to land any of those now, as switching back over to that heavy thrusting sword, deciding, you know what, enough of this. I'm going to play the weapon I want to play. And great jump R1 there to find the pressure. And now just actually does a bit of a reverse jump there. Says, yeah, you can run into me. Does not take the bait though, but now the pattas are coming out. And what are we going to see this fighting? And into Shamshir. Oh, actually not. Bit of a misclick there. Does stick onto the Light Great Sword, and now trying to find the pressure is going to be the side of Kieran. And I think Heaven might actually just stick with the pattas into the Light Great Sword here. I'm very curious to see how that's going to work. Great pressure that the Flame Strike manages to catch. Follows it up with the R2 as well. And R2 in the neutral there. And now we're going to see the Light Great Sword trying to make it work. Is going to be the side of Kieran, but Heaven looking really good in this one with these pattas out.
Yeah, and the pattas as well. Again, I joked about it earlier on. Is this Bloodborne, run R1 into a mash is definitely, those dash attacks come through. They cover so much ground. But those R2s come out here from the side of Kieran, who just keeps that the pain train going. A definite life lead on the side of Kieran by about, 1,300 health. About, 1,300 to about 634. But he's just chipping them down slowly but surely. Both sides still have their tears. Good patient rolls coming out here on the side of Kieran. We see those empty jumps coming out here. Left and right. Goes for that empty jump again. Tries to bait out on a potential pressure. But that's going to be the tear gone for Heaven. Heaven's knocking on Heaven's door, I'm afraid, here. But the looks of things as he's eating yet more damage. Force back in now. We see those crouch attacks come through here on the side. Very, very fast crouch attacks come through here on the side of Kieran. We see those R2s into a Flaming Strike to try and even this one out. And another Flaming Strike into an R2 comes out on the side of Heaven. But he's 45 HP and now he's 0. Oh, it is of the mind's constitution to make a heaven of hell. Or a hell out of heaven. I was 14. That was deep once. Okay, LB.
I think you're cooking a little bit too hard with the Heaven references right now. I could be wrong, but just really, really good play across the board today. I think we've seen, and Kieran really did. I mean, just showed how strong poise counting can really be, right? Now that we're up against, he doesn't have that hyper armor refill. He doesn't have any of that. He's on the pattas, and one of them finally broke.
Yes.
And said, okay, I'll just use the weapon into this, and it's whatever. It's fine. I'm going to do that. And it just ended up favoring out Kieran a little bit better there. But really good play across the board from all of them. I believe that's actually the first time Heaven lost today, right?
Yes, that is the first loss that Heaven has taken, and they did an absolutely exceptional job all the way through. Some really good plays. We've seen that they really, really wanted to win it, but the experience of Kieran, again, he's been in, I believe he only, if members, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the only tourney that Kieran was ever in before this was against Deadfish in, oh god, was it Artura's Weeklies? In like the first year of the game? No, there's no reset. It's just the challenge is kind of screwed, Heaven. There's no reset. It's a best of, yeah. 3-0'd by Deadfish and Artura. Alright, I was right. Whew. Alright, that was a long ass time ago. I want to say though to everyone, absolutely phenomenal plays here. And if you're interested in joining these, join the Discord. we do these weeklies. We do these weeklies, funny enough, weekly. I know that's crazy. And we'll be looking at next week going on in forward. But yeah, very, very good matches. Very, very well played. LB, do you have any kind of closing thoughts as we end out this tourney?
Again, I was really excited to see some of the stuff that we did not see a regular thrusting sword the entire day, right?
Yeah.
We saw Shamshir a handful of times. We saw backhand blade once. Once from the same, it was a couple times, but it was from the same person.
Yeah.
So we've not really seen any like the super strong stuff in this, which I really like. You know, it opens up. I do feel like when you take the this is the best weapon out of the equation, you really get to see some really fun matches. We got to see, you know, some Pata play. We got, which again, Patas are definitely strong in their own right. We did get to see some LGS at the very end there. We got to see some heavy thrusting sword for the first time in a very long time.
Yeah.
We got to see a lot of off axe and things like that. People are messing around with that. Great Katana was played phenomenal today across the board. So again, I think my highlight of the tournament was seeing some really creative setups with some really, really good players.
Yeah, and good players is right. You know, congratulations to Heaven again. Pulling through some really impressive stuff. Kieran as well, you know, doing a really, really good job of just like showing. The HTS is an interesting one. Again, it's... Mm-hmm. I think I said to you during one of the breaks, you know, it kind of feels a little bit gimmicky, and I'm going to stand by that. It doesn't really have... It's... Once the other person figures out the game plan of going for those trades and stuff, it's just, oh, well, I never press then. I just don't press first, I reaction roll, and now they're going to be put in a really bad position. But, LBU... We've come to the end of this. It's good to have you back, brother, once again here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not following LBU, please do. You know, he's an absolutely phenomenal gamer. The Fisher-brained, I believe, is the technical term. He's been doing an absolutely phenomenal job coming back. How have you been before we finish up, how have you been finding fishing in Elden Ring, LB?
So when you're not on vanilla, where you're constantly fighting 150 ping, you actually, they did a lot for the backstab. So right after I had left, it was about a year and a half-ish ago, they made a change to the grabs in general. So like, I think Dark Soap is someone that highlighted a lot of what you can do with backstabs. I actually tested some of them with you of like backstabbing backswings because you just have the poise to go through them. So passive poise grabs kind of exist. For example, like Great Sword's a perfect example. Pretty much any of their first attacks, if you just sprint at them and strafe it the same way you would strafe a halberd, you get some chip damage through, but you just passively poison and backstab it. So there's a lot of really cool tech that you can do with backstabs now. Yeah, there's a lot of really, really cool backstabs you can do nowadays. I don't know what you're talking about, SK. I'm just going to keep it a stack. No idea. No clue at all what you could possibly ever be talking about. But yeah, so I was aware of what you're going for. But yeah, so fishing has actually been a lot of fun, and especially my average connection on Seamless is like 30 ping.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Like, I actually fought somebody at like 13. I was like, where are you? Like, are you in my walls? You might be.
I think so. Just before we do finish up, I will say this: if you haven't tried Seamless Invasions. I believe the easiest way to explain it is I went into a 4v1. We got into... They both summoned Mimic Tears. And I believe the lowest connection was about 100 ping. Or the highest connection was about 100 ping. They are the goofiest experiences. PvEers farming in Mogs trying to get runes, only to both jump on their horses and try and run away while I chase after them, is just... It's a very cool proof of concept. I will 100% say I will never invade in vanilla again because it's so goofy and silly. And you also get co-invaders when you realize who they are. On that note,
is definitely a problem.
Do you have any fun? You get the last word, LB.
No, not at all. Make sure you guys watch every Thursday because Ender does awesome tournaments.
That is a lie, and you know it. But either way, we'll find someplace cozy to send you all, folks. Congratulations to Heaven and Kieran. Chat you all in the next cartoon. Bye-bye, guys.